got a show for you, folks. Candace Owens and Mind Unveiled. That's right. The sudden rise of Candace Owens. Mind Unveiled has come out with another beautiful, and thank you, Fisk, for this amazing track. Mind Unveiled has come out with another beautiful take here. He's got some excellent videos. Check him out if you haven't already. We did America is Under a Trance a few days ago, and what a treat that was. So please check that out. It was a 7-hour stream. Okay, we did 7 hours on 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. So let's see if we can kind of taper it down a bit. Okay, 7 hours. I mean, it's just, there's just so much information there, and we were able to expound on. So here we are. We got a fresh one. Candace Owens. And he's got an amazing and beautiful breakdown called The Bride of Farmer. Now, if you guys remember, Candace Owens got married real quick, within 18 days. So that's a quick exchange. Okay. I won't. After I get to know someone, I don't even talk to them after 18 days. It takes me a good 32 in order to get me to know you. So people are trying to befriend old Clip Virgin, and it takes a little bit of time. You know, it takes a little bit. No, I'm an open book, okay? An audio book. Welcome back, Lulu. Yeah, got a new season, new look, folks. We are Clip Virgin. So please check us out, give us a like and subscribe. We have cleared the 4,000 watch hours. One of the prerequisites to be monetized. We clipped it, okay? And now we just need to get to that Godfather goal. 500 by end of spring, 1,000 by end of summer. We are sitting at, it looks like a beautiful, steady 296, okay? We'll just go up that ladder. One run at a time if we need to. So thank you for participating in this goal achievement. I'm going to monetize, folks, and I'm going to just turn up those ads. So enjoy it while it lasts, because you'll get inundated with 20 in a second. No, I really don't know how any of this really goes. I barely know how to make a thumbnail. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining. And unless there's anything else, we should just get right to it. We have we got a good one here, folks. Mind Unveiled. The Bride of Farmer. So please check them out. Give them a like and subscribe to them, and hang out with us for the watch party. Well, let's get set up here.
You ready to continue down the rabbit hole? Hey, Candace. I want to start this video by saying that I'm not attacking you and that I genuinely care. If you saw part 5, you know we talked about Project Monarch and how Candace was the largest voice to have most recently discussed this topic. After that, a lot of you had some things to say, and I do appreciate it. It's not my intention to discredit Candace. My one and only intention is to present the truth. That's it. You can go and verify it for yourself. I'm not here to make claims. I'm not here to hate whatsoever. I read all your comments, and so before we begin with this investigation, let me just set this up because truly I have the intentions to be fair here. So let me just respond to some of the most common comments first, and even some of the potential future comments so we can just get it all out of the way. Let's just focus on the research, guys. So first thing, the main point seems to be that I'm not a daily watcher of Candace. Look, I've been watching Candace Owens since 2016. Before the Daily Wire, before Turning Point.
Now, unless you got you have this bright one. Unless you got a daily commute, you know, popping in at 4, 5 o'clock. She's got a more rigorous schedule than Old Clip Virgin. Okay. You know, the faint of heart will not be able to keep up with Clip Virgin, and they won't be able to keep up with Candace Owens either. So we are meant as a, you know, content cycle. We go through things so fast, but very in depth, and but we'll hit topics before people. It'll take 2 weeks before people start talking about things that we covered 2 weeks ago. With us going on online or broadcasting most evenings, we cover a lot of material. So Candace Owens is going on 5 days a week. I wish I could only do 5 days. So here we are. It's tough to keep up with Candace, but she repeats herself a lot. Solve the mystery already. Okay, we are waiting with bated breath. I thought she was going to solve it like maybe a month into it, and it's been like 7 months
since 2016. Before the Daily Wire, before Turning Point, before any of that political stuff that most people know her for. I was a huge fan before all that.
Not me.
See, the thing is when I found out about her, I wasn't really political at all. I was just an artist, but I lost close friends over the whole BLM ordeal. But during that whole era, Candace was the only voice of light. You remember her holding her phone and recording the whole thought stream in one go? That to me is the real Candace. And I remember even sending my friend these viral clips trying to wake them up. But yeah, I've been watching her from the beginning. So let's quickly go through the others.
Wow.
1. The whole there's a method to her madness. She can only release so much info at a time. You just have to be patient. Well look, I disagree. In this video we'll explain why. 2. The whole book club stuff. Oh, she reveals more info in the book club. Okay, well,
Chaos.
The truth is behind a paywall? What are you saying?
Oh, please. Come on, Mind Unveiled. You know, people, be trying to get them Patreon numbers, and they have to have a little bit of separate content. You do it as well, right? I mean, you put yourself behind a paywall, and then, for early access, and then you open up that little faucet for us normies eventually. What you talking about?
Three, you're just hating. You're jealous. Absolutely not. Honestly, I'd rather do old world stuff. I'm doing this because I believe I have to. I'm the only one who can do this at this level.
I'm the real clip
Or,
virgin.
I'm
I
some
promise.
plant that is attacking her. Well, if I tell you that I'm not, you won't believe me. So why?
Wow, look at that. It kind of looks voodoo. That kind of looks voodoo doll. I mean, I thought I looked a little alien, clean shaven, but that's straight up. You know, she's a little gray. She's one of the grays.
Why don't you just watch the video and then debunk it? Let me just be very clear.
Sasha Fierce.
It is my goal to not make any claims. I just want to show you what exists in the public and what's in the files. That's it. There really is no excuse. Any other comment is just
Gray lives matter. E.T. phone home. All right. Here.
just laziness. Do the work and verify it for yourself. Now let's lock in. A lot of you were very specific in the
Why do you wear
comments.
yellow?
Her husband. So I looked into it.
Okay. If there's ever, if my gaydar ever went off, yeah, it's around this fella. Allegedly. Okay. Oh no, don't tell people that they're gay. Okay. You're gay, dude. You're gay. That's why Candace Owens always has this phrase. It seems fake and gay. This is fake and gay because it's a fake marriage and you're gay. Okay, that's where that whole thing, where that turn of phrase came from. No one's ever said it's fake and gay until Candace Owens got married 18 days later, 18 days after meeting this industry plant. Okay, you're a plant and you're gay, dude. Allegedly, but you know I've messaged Candace Owens several times. I'm like, Candace, please, you've got to see that you know he's a plant, right? I mean you know this, right? And I'm sure you can't say it out loud because then you would let him know that you know. But I've messaged her a couple times. Okay, I said, but I want you to know that I know. All right, so run away with me.
And what I found is not what I expected.
Oh God,
The
there
video
it
is
is.
called The Bride of Farmer. If you've been watching Candace's
Yes, a
series
handler,
on Erica
exactly.
Kirk, The Bride of Charlie, you kind of get it. But let me just quote how she opened that series. She said, quote, "A young woman with absolutely zero professional qualifications has been inserted at the top of an organization that pulled in over $250 million, and the media is telling you that you have no right to know or to ask anything about her?" Then she said, quote, "The public simply wanting to ensure the person who is running that organization is, at a bare minimum, moderately honest about who she says she is. No, that inquiry makes you a monster." End quote. She asked all the right questions about Erica Kirk. Who is this woman? Who inserted her? Why can't we ask questions about her background?
Mamacita. Woo-wee. If I could get some of them devil eyes. You got them devil eyes. I mean, look at that. That is MK Ultra. That's the look of people going off script. She's like, all right, giving you all the old evil eye. Please, just end this whole thing. Stop watching her. Stop giving her the attention that I so desperately wish I had. Okay. She she's in full JD Vance mode right there. Okay. Wizard knows.
Who inserted her? Why can't we ask questions about her background? Well, I'm gonna ask the same ones about Candace.
Oh God! Now this is going to be, ooh man, this is going to make my skin crawl because of how uncomfortable this whole thing is going to be. Because this is going to be like Akash and his bride from hell. Anytime that Akash would go and reach in for a kiss, she would kind of, like they would be coming in for a kiss, and she'd be like this. She was always ducking Akash's advances. So this is what's going to happen with, or has been happening with Candace. She'll find some affection, and go in for a little hug, and he's just like, oh, okay, or Charlie was it for her. Okay, she and Charlie Kirk were an item, and once they started, forming and melding auras, that's when Erica Kirk got into the picture, and that's when shortly after her husband came into the picture. I believe they're both married probably within a year of each other, right? No more than 2 years after Candace Owens got married to who's that guy who he was in some like the old late 90s like teen pop thrillers. He wore like glasses. He was like, Harvard's sophisticated kind of roles. Kind of like that, but you gay, dude. You gay. Hug your bride. Do a full frontal hug. See, he's used to people showing affection from behind.
But before I can show you who she married, I need to show you who she was. Okay, so Candace Owens. Candace grew up in Stamford, Connecticut. She went to the University of Rhode Island to study journalism, but dropped out after her junior year. Never finished a degree.
That's her? That don't look like her. Did she get replaced already?
After that, she moved to New York, got an internship at Vogue, worked her way up to a private equity firm in Manhattan, and during all of this, there was
name dropping again. We're everywhere, folks.
Political involvement, zero conservative commentary, nothing really. She was just working in fashion and finance in New York. Then in 2015, she started a company called Degree 180.
People are saying that she's the dude. Allegedly, right? Because that's different. This isn't The Candace Owens I know. The soft cheeks, soft eyes like that. Yeah, big smile, big lips. I don't got those kind of lips. Oh, please, mind Unveiled. Consider your viewers' circadian rhythms. Okay. Andrew Huberman says don't use harsh white when doing essay commentary videos.
It was a marketing agency with a blog.
Actually, you're supposed to look at one of these the first thing in the morning.
And on the blog, Candace Owens published anti-conservative, anti-Republican, and openly anti-Trump content. She wrote about the batshit crazy antics of the Republican Tea Party. So that's what she thought of Republicans. She wrote that conservatives would, quote, eventually die off peacefully in their sleep, we hope.
Whoa.
And then we can get right on with the obvious social change that needs to happen immediately.
What? Get her! What'd you say? Do the conservatives bother you? No, I'm not affiliated with any kind of political party. Okay, I'm not into that kind of stuff. I don't even like sports. Why would I like politics? Why, Candace? Why do you hate the conservatives?
So she was quite the activist. Now, I don't want to hold her to that. And again, I want to set the right tone here. We just need to look at the history. I'm not here to make judgments.
Who is this man? Candace Owens?
Here. We just need to look at the history. I'm not here to make judgments. People change, people grow, but it gets deeper than that. As late as 2016, publishing anti-Trump content, then praising Trump within 12 to 18 months. And now in 2025, she's back criticizing him over foreign policy. So what happened? In April 2016,
Oh God.
Candace launched a Kickstarter for something called Social Autopsy. This is the hinge point of her entire career. Social Autopsy was a website designed to track online bullies by cataloging their real names next to screenshots of their offensive post. Think about what that actually is.
How about this?
It's
Fuck
a
you,
public
Candace.
doxing
Fuck
database.
you, Candace.
You submit
Fuck
a
you.
screenshot of someone being mean online, and it gets filed under their real name for anyone to search.
Clip Virgin. Fuck
She
you.
wanted $75,000. She raised about $4,000 before Kickstarter suspended the campaign for violating their terms of service. And the reaction was immediate. Everyone hated it. The privacy advocates, free speech people, left and right, all sides came at her. People started doxing Candace herself in retaliation.
Whoa.
And Candace blamed the doxing on progressives. Specifically, she pointed at Zoe Quinn, a woman who had been attacked during
So
Gamergate.
right.
Now, multiple outlets covered this at the same time. The Daily Beast, Vox, and the word they used was scant evidence.
Yes, I agree. Was there that? Yikes. Now, I will say, she did have kids, so there was a time where she was bearing children, apparently. Or maybe this is when she was first replaced with her doppelganger dude. And it's always the opposite sex, and then they put the mask on just to really drive the point home. But yeah, she did have some kids though. She was pretty hefty in those times.
And Candace blamed the doxing on progressives. Specifically, she pointed at Zoe Quinn, a woman who had been attacked during Gamergate. Now, multiple outlets covered this at the same time: the Daily Beast, Vox, and the word they used was scant evidence. That's their assessment, not mine. And by blaming the left for attacking her, she was suddenly and instantly embraced by the Gamergate crowd. Anti-feminist, pro-Trump internet personalities, people like Milo Yiannopoulos, Mike Cernovich, and the emerging alt-right.
Oh my God, Dave Rubin is the worst. Now, I haven't heard one lecture, one sentence from Charlie Kirk. Okay. He was even on Bill Maher. I didn't even watch it. And Dave Rubin just might as well have been part of that. He is part of it. He's all, it's all these gay conservatives. And yeah, where it? Oh, thank you, Jan. Appreciate it. Yeah. It was getting pretty goatish. I was looking like a Duncan Trussell goat man. But yeah, where's Charlie Kirk's parents? Mama. Oh, too kind. Thank you. You know, I want to hear from your dad, Charlie Kirk. Dave Rubin is a dad now. And we've heard what adopted parents do to their kids if they're part of some kind of satanic ritual. So let's make sure that Dave Rubin isn't listening to Travis Scott.
So just to be clear about what just happened, a progressive woman tried to build a public doxing database, got attacked by her own side for it, blamed them for it, and overnight became a hero to the other side. The same crowd that should have hated the idea of a doxing website welcomed her with open arms because she pointed the finger at their enemy.
Yeah.
That seems like her origin story.
You got to point
And
all of
listen
them.
to Candace's own words about what happened next. I became a conservative overnight. I realized that liberals were actually the racist. Liberals were actually the trolls.
It's true.
She said that to Dave Rubin.
Bunch of gaslighting bitches. These liberals, okay? And the conservatives are just a bunch of gay beta males. So I want nothing to do with any of them, okay? I just want to write poetry. Okay, nothing political. But those liberals are the worst, dude. Oh my God. Arrogant little shits. Got me cussing like a conservative. No, we keep a nice clean show here on Clip Virgin. This is a family show.
So let me get this straight. A woman that was blogging against Republicans and mocking Trump had her doxing business fail, blamed the left with scant evidence, and decided overnight that she was now a conservative? That was 2016.
Those were the years.
August 2017. Less than a year and a half later, she starts posting political videos on YouTube. September 2017, she launches a channel called Red Pill Black. Then she posts a vlog about the Charlottesville rally. It gets 80 million views.
What?
She comes out of nowhere, then gets 80 million views on this vlog. By the end of September, she's on Fox News with Jesse Waters. Zero political presence to 80 million views in Fox News in under 6 months. No experience, no established platform. Either that's the finest organic rise in political media history, or someone opened the doors. Now I don't know which, but let's look at what happened. November 2017. Charlie Kirk announces Candace Owens as communications director at Turning Point USA. So 14 months from failed doxing website to one of the most powerful conservative youth organizations in America. Who made that introduction? Nobody's ever answered that publicly. She launched Blexit. Kanye tweeted, "I love the way Candace Owens thinks." Every conservative stage, every Fox News panel. The machine was running at full speed.
Yeah, they had this this whole thing together too. Her and what you doing ironing your hair? You're gonna burn it. They had her and Kanye had a bit of a coupling, and that shit made no sense. Yeah, what happened? Yeah. He tweeted about her, but she ended up saying something about like she had a dream about it or something like that, and then the next day or two, Kanye tweeted about her, and she was telling Charlie Kirk like, "Oh my God, this is what I was feeling, like there's gonna be this big thing that's gonna happen, and here it is. Kanye's, helping to promote us." So during this time, her and Charlie Kirk were in cahoots.
And then December 2018, she traveled to London with Charlie Kirk for the
There you
launch
go.
of Turning Point UK. And that's another event we all know. The one where she was attacked over the Austrian painter quote. Now I'm not going to repeat it because that's leftist stuff.
Do it.
You guys know what happened.
What happened?
Multiple TPUSA campus chapters called for a resignation. She would leave TPUSA in May 2019. After that, she joins the Daily Wire in 2021.
Oh God.
So she basically stays on script for 3 years. Then she clashes with Shapiro in March 2024 and then leaves. She posts, "I'm finally free." By 2025, she's calling Trump a chronic disappointment. She says she's embarrassed she told people to vote for him. Goes fully independent, launches her own show, starts her own Epstein series. That's the career arc. From anti-Trump blogger to conservative overnight, to TPUSA, to Daily Wire, to independent, to the biggest conspiracy theorist in the world. But rewind to that London trip in December 2018. Because while everyone was talking about the comments, something else happened. Candace sat down at a dinner table next to a man she never met before. His name was George Farmer.
Georgie.
So apparently,
Georgie boy.
here's what happened next. The Turning Point UK launch was held on December 11th, 2018 at the Royal Automobile Club on Pall Mall in London. The person who organized this event was a man named John Mappin. He's the heir to the Mappin and Webb jewelry fortune, one of the oldest luxury brands in England. And he's a reported Scientologist. He's also a known QAnon promoter. That's who put together the event where Candace met her future husband. Candace had actually been in London doing media all day. She was taping Russell Brand's podcast that same day and showed up late.
Biggest mistake of your
And at a
life.
dinner organized by Paul Joseph Watson, the InfoWars contributor, she sat next to George Farmer. He was the chairman of Turning Point UK, the British version of Charlie Kirk's operation.
Look all those
He was the
look all those straight white males right there. Gays love hiding in the conservative corners. They love a little bit of conservatism. There's far less disease when they sodomize each other. It's graphic, folks. It's graphic, but it's gay graphic. Okay, so it's okay. But ooh, they are, and gay conservatives are some of the worst. Okay, I'd rather, have lunch with a loony left gay man than a conservative gay man. Okay. Actually, please stop being political. All right. It's just reactionary news cycles. That's all you're participating in. Because YouTube, promotes reaction, and unless you found a bit of a niche like Clip Virgin, the only way you can get these daily reaction content is through current events and news. Only a few people can get daily content from things that are not news. Go out there and look. There's there might be a few out there, but it's far more news and daily commentary, or for the daily commentary channels, than comedy or anything. So you just need to stay away from the news.
chairman of Turning Point UK, the British version of Charlie Kirk's operation.
But I will be
He
starting
was
a
the money guy.
Republican
He was already installed before Candace and Kirk flew over.
reaction channel.
Candace later described it as love at first sight. December 12th. They have dinner alone.
Nice wizard. Exactly. When the Republicans meet up, the Grindr app crashes. That was great. Turning Point basically is funding the app.
December 29th.
Sedona.
George Farmer proposes to Candace Owens
Whoa, wait.
via FaceTime.
All right, I'm talking over this. Let me get back here a little bit. It was love at first sight, Candace Owens recalled, meeting husband George Farmer amid London trip, rumors involving Charlie Kirk. So, 18 days.
December 12th. They have dinner alone. December 29th. George Farmer proposes to Candace Owens via FaceTime. 18 days after meeting her for the first time. February 14th, 2019. The engagement is publicly announced on Valentine's Day. In May 2019.
Which, by the way, he would be see, is there another picture? He would be bald by 35. That ain't gonna last.
Her for the first time.
There it is. So enjoy your 20s while you got it, because that's gone by the time you're 35. I mean, you just kind of cover up the conservative hair, and you can see what he's going to look like in the future.
February 14th, 2019. The engagement is publicly announced on Valentine's Day. In May 2019, George runs as a Brexit Party candidate for European Parliament. He doesn't win, but it tells you where his political ambitions are. August 6th, 2019. Private ceremony. August 31st, 2019. The celebration at Trump Winery near Charlottesville, Virginia. Eric Trump's the president of the winery. And look at the guest list. Nigel Farage, the leader of the Brexit Party, John Voight, Charlie Kirk, Larry Elder, Paul Joseph Watson, and Jerry Falwell Jr., the president of Liberty University, who would later resign in his own scandal. They wore red Make Weddings Great Again hats. From first handshake to wedding, 264 days. Less than 9 months. From first handshake to proposal, 18 days. And when asked why, George said he heard a voice telling him to propose. So a voice told him, no.
And that's not even voice to skull technology. That's just dumbass to head technology.
Maybe it is just love at first sight. Maybe God really did just tell him. But before you decide that, you need to know who George Farmer actually is. Because once you do, the 18 days starts looking very different. Okay, so George Farmer. Most Candace fans couldn't tell you a single thing about this man. His full legal name is George Thomas Stahel Farmer. Born in London, went to St. Paul's School, one of the oldest and most elite private schools in England, founded in 1509. From there, he went to St. Peter's College, Oxford, to study theology. Got a first-class honors degree, which means he wasn't just at Oxford to party. He was academically serious. But remember that name.
Like a gay.
Stahel. We'll come back to it. But first, his father. And where he comes from is a level of wealth and political power that most people have never been anywhere near. George's father is Michael Stahel Farmer. And as of September 5th, 2014, his official title is Baron Farmer of Bishopsgate in the City of London. He sits in the House of Lords. He is a life peer in the British government. Lord Farmer made his fortune in metals trading. His nickname in the industry was Mr. Copper, because at one point, his company was the single largest trader of physical copper and nickel on the planet. He ran this operation from 1989 to 2000, and in 2000, he sold it. Guess who bought it? Enron, for $448 million. Yes, that Enron. And what's wild is Lord Farmer cashed out right before Enron collapsed. He sold at the absolute peak, after Enron imploded and destroyed thousands of people's.
Looks like my viewers, YouTube does not like their ready-made songs in their own videos. Apparently, I've been using a YouTube, YouTube song for my intro. That's what that song is. And ever since then, my numbers have tanked. Like Hassan. So I'm having to do different things with the intros. I'm going to be experimenting. If you got any suggestions, why don't you throw some suggestions in the comment section below. And let me know how anemic I look. Okay, I escaped the hospital, and I just had to stream one more night before they put me under again. Ooh, Jan's got some. Wait, what? Now with the little ... That's usually she I might have to. I might have to just get these numbers up. As a matter of fact, no time like the present. No, let's. I will need some music though. I can't do it cold.
Pensions and savings. Lord Farmer walked away with $448 million and went on to co-found a hedge fund called Red Kite Group, which at its peak...
What? Oh, Kite. Jeez.
Was managing $3.5 billion and was supplying roughly 15% of China's copper consumption. The family is worth an estimated £150 million. 12-bedroom London mansion, properties in France, Morocco, Belgium, and a large estate in Tennessee where Candace and George now live. Now here's the thing. How did Lord Farmer get his title? Lord Farmer is one of the largest individual donors in the history of the British Conservative Party. He donated over £6.4 million. Some sources put it as high as $8 to $9 million when you include all affiliated donations. He served as co-treasurer of the Conservative Party from 2011 to 2015. And on September 5th, 2014, while he was still serving as party treasurer,
Oh yeah, that guy.
he was created a life peer, Baron Farmer of Bishopsgate in the City of London, and given a permanent seat in the House of Lords. There's an investigation by Open Democracy that looked into this pattern. What they found is that every single former Conservative Party treasurer who donated at least £3 million was offered a seat in the House of Lords. Every one. And Lord Farmer, when the Sunday Times asked him about this directly, quote, "There has been a tradition of ennobling party treasurers," end quote. A tradition? And in the House of Lords, Lord Farmer has voted 81 times. He has never once voted against the Conservative Party whip. 81 for 81. Before the marriage, George was a partner at Red Kite, his father's hedge fund, from July 2017.
Am I zoomed in?
He reportedly made £5 million in profit in a single month. After the marriage, the career gets interesting. He co-founded Redfield and Wilton Strategies, a political polling firm, in January 2020. Then he became COO and later CEO of Parler, the free speech social media platform, from March 2021 to April 2023. Then he became the executive director and shareholder of GB News, the UK media outlet, from September.
Do I? You're not paying attention. Do I need to do a little song and dance? This backstory is too kind. This is I do a lot to hide the blush, okay? But I blush easy.
September 2023. So that's hedge fund, polling.
Now I thought for sure Jan was not gonna go for the clean shaven. Okay. Well, and it, she likes a mountain man. So I'm glad I'm not losing my my core audience, because sometimes the way you obtain them is how you maintain them. And it was just time for it to go. So thank you. And we won't talk about the shaving, you know. But I will say, I was freaked out. I'm like, oh God, oh, what did I do? It's never good for the host. But hey, Maggie, yeah, I'm right here. You don't need AI.
Social media platform, news network. All in 5 years. But publicly, I'm exclusively interested in faith. Now go back to the 18 days.
Oh God, look at that. Whoa, little Satanist. Look at that. What are you, Satan? Satan? Or how does Dana Carvey do it? Let me guess. Satan? That will be the last Dana Carvey. Oh, I don't have glasses. Last Dana Carvey reference.
Now can we be real? A woman who became conservative overnight in 2016, whose entire political career was 14 months old, who had just embarrassed herself with the you-know-who comments and was being pushed out of TPUSA.
Here, we'll do a little change up. How about this, Jan? I know I'm digital, okay? But maybe just for a few moments.
Sits next to this man at a dinner his organization arranged, and within 18 days, the son of a lord whose family is worth 150 million pounds decides she's the one. Now the name. Shahel. Lord Farmer's full name is Michael Shahel Farmer. George is George Thomas Shahel Farmer. Every generation carries that name. The Shahel surname is Swiss. 61% concentrated in the canton of Zurich, records going back to the 13th century.
Stall?
Now some of my viewers have claimed this is Swiss Templar bloodline. I'll have to look into that more, but what I can tell you is the name is Swiss and it's centuries old. And this family carried it from the continental European commodity trading world into the British House of Lords in one generation. Okay, but let's talk about what George did at Oxford, because this is the part that neither Candace nor George ever talk about.
Ooh.
At Oxford University, George Farmer was the president of the Bullingdon Club. Now, if you're American, you may not know what this is, but if you're British, you know exactly what this is, and you know it means something very specific about a person who was in it.
Mark. That's right, Mark. We got the producer from Kurt Metzger and all Yaley, Skull and Bones.
Bullingdon Club was founded around 1780. All male, invitation only.
Oh boy.
You can't apply. You have to come from one of the wealthiest families in the country, and existing members select you.
You gotta pay to play to be
The
gay.
uniform alone costs £3,500. So what do?
Allegedly.
They hold grand dinners at expensive venues, and then they destroy them.
Whoa, nice. I can get with that. I like a little rotisserie riot.
That's the tradition. Smash the place up, pay for the damage in cash. The initiation involves members invading your room and destroying everything you own while you watch. Police have been called to Bullingdon events. George Farmer was president in 2010 when police were called to Hartwell House Hotel for criminal damage. Okay, but here's why any of this matters. There's some important people in this club. 2 kings, Edward VII and Edward VIII. 3 prime ministers, David Cameron, Boris Johnson,
Whoa.
Archibald Primrose, the 5th Earl of
There's-
Rosebery.
There's 3 kings in there?
7th, and important people in this club. 2 kings,
2 kings. Wow.
Edward VII and Edward VIII. 3 prime ministers,
Wow.
David Cameron, Boris Johnson, Archibald Primrose, the 5th Earl of Rosebery, 2 Chancellors of the Exchequer, George Osborne, Lord Randolph Churchill, Winston Churchill's father, Nat Rothschild. That's the photo they tried to suppress during their political careers. Cameron, Boris
Johnson
all of
was
them.
there?
This club has produced more
Oh, wait,
British
that
heads
is-
of state per capita
Wow.
than any organization in the country. So for Americans, this is basically Skull and Bones at Yale. Same structure, same function, 3 US presidents from Skull and Bones, 3 UK prime ministers, and 2 kings from the Bullingdon Club.
I really wish we could start dressing like this again. I mean, I will. I'm nearly there. But not the high collar. Okay. I don't need to be getting no turtleneck or the elephant neck. What do they call it? Oh yeah, Peaky Blinders. Yep. Yeah, I need a little. Yeah, organized crime clothing.
Presidents from Skull and Bones, 3 UK prime ministers, and 2 kings from the Bullingdon Club. George Farmer was the president of it. Now we're just getting started.
Whoa. Wait, the president of Skull and Bones? So Candace Owens' father-in-law is the president of Skull and Bones.
Same structure, same function, 3 US presidents from Skull and Bones, 3 UK prime ministers, and 2 kings from the Bullingdon Club. George Farmer was the president of it. Now we're just getting started. You know what's even crazier? This all connects to the files. There's an email in the EFT archives, EFTA 02416209. It's from a man named Nick Lees writing to Jeffrey Epstein. Now Lees was close to Epstein. Epstein called him my boy. He was based in Singapore. And in this email, Lees is discussing British politics and he writes, quote, Eton, Oxford, Bullingdon running the country. What a wheeze. That's a private email to Epstein from a man he considered family. And in a separate email from the same Nick Lees, he introduces Jeffrey Epstein to a woman named Nicole Junkermann. If you know about Epstein research, you've probably heard that name. Junkermann is a known Epstein associate connected to Ehud Barak. Lees writes to Epstein, my great friend Nicole Junkermann is considering moving to Singapore. May I have her call you? EFTA 02414840. I'm going to call this one the Rosetta Stone. Prince Andrew writes to Epstein, quote, you should know that I was seeing David Rowland, my trusted money man who you should know from a long time ago. He saw Hugo Swire, the new Minister of State Northern Ireland, and Hugo asked him a very direct question about whether or not I was still seeing you. David Rowland, Conservative Party's largest donor and designated treasurer, forced to resign because the press called him a shady financer. Prince Andrew calls him my trusted money man, and Hugo Swire, a Foreign Office minister, is asking whether Andrew is still seeing Epstein. In the same email chain, Epstein writes to Andrew, I know you're seeing Jess Staley this morning. He's like family and can be trusted. Jess Staley, JP Morgan CEO, later Barclays CEO, like family. The documents show he visited Epstein's Island with his wife, flight numbers in EFTA 02025420. He sent his daughter's resume to Epstein. Epstein writes back to Andrew about Swire. I used to shoot with Hugo. His great friend, Nick Lees, is coming to see me next week. Shooting parties with a Foreign Office minister, and Nick Lees, who jokes about Bullingdon running the country, is the same Nick Lees Epstein then connects to Nicole Junkermann. Junkerman, EFTA 02342424, forwards surveillance tech updates to two people, Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister, and Jeffrey Epstein. Same email, same time. EFTA 02426782.
We're just getting some
Nat Rothschild,
some
Bullingdon Club,
foundation here,
sends
folks.
a private deal called Project Concordia to Jess Daly at JP Morgan. Lord Mandelson forwards the entire chain to Epstein with two words. Interesting. Protect. EFTA 01889668. Remember I said George Osborne, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Bullingdon Club? His chief of staff was a man named Ian Osborne. And Ian Osborne emailed Jeffrey Epstein directly. Subject line, confidential. Quote, I spoke to George Osborne. He is certain that Jess's name was never put to him for a yes-no on Barclays, and he's equally certain that he would not have opposed it. So the Chancellor of Exchequer's own chief of staff feeding confidential information about banking appointments to Jeffrey Epstein. About Jess Daly, the same man Epstein called like family. And in a separate email, EFTA 01876305, Epstein's assistant Leslie Groff writes, quote, you have mentioned Ian Osborne and Peter Thiel. The same Ian Osborne arranging Peter Thiel meetings for Epstein while feeding him confidential intelligence from the Chancellor's office. EFTA 02418723. Prince Andrew brokering David Rowland's Luxembourg private bank to Epstein for, quote, your undecided Chinese? Andrew writes, perhaps this is an avenue for your undecided Chinese, and he agrees that concentration should be on who pays who and when. And Lord Mandelson himself, EFTA 01838629, states directly that, quote, Lord Mandelson was introduced to Mr. Epstein a decade before by his then partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, who along with her father and other members of her family, Lord Mandelson had known for many years. Ghislaine Maxwell was personally introducing British lords to Jeffrey Epstein. And in another email, Mandelson writes to Epstein, quote, need a lord on the board? And in a separate document, Epstein asked Mandelson to arrange a House of Lords tour for his 15-year-old goddaughter. And Mandelson's first question, the very first thing he writes back is, how old? How old?
Whoa.
Now what's her name? Now when does she want to come? How old? Yeah.
Yikes.
And then there's EFTA 000-37470. This is a UK National Crime Agency intelligence report sent to the FBI in June 2020. It's about a woman named Claire Guinness, or Lady Claire Iva, Countess of Iva, married into the Guinness brewing dynasty. Quote, Claire Iva was allegedly a close contact of Epstein and traveled and stayed with him on multiple occasions. And her current position, the one the NCA flagged in the report, president of the NSPCC, the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, the UK's main child protection charity. In the emails, she's sending Epstein property listings. Coco Chanel's house in the south of France. And she writes, quote, you could put in super cool for girls, even without aircon. Smiley faces. The president of the child protection charity emailing Jeffrey Epstein about properties that are super cool for girls. Now I need to be clear, George Farmer is not in the Epstein files. His father, Lord Farmer, is not directly named in the EFTA documents. I'm not gonna fabricate a connection that doesn't exist.
Do it.
I'm not saying the Farmers are a part of any network. I'm saying this is the world they operate in.
I'll say it.
And this world has documents. The exact same role Lord Farmer held, Conservative Party treasurer, that's Prince Andrew's trusted moneyman in the files. The club that George Farmer ran is in the files. That's the one Epstein Circle jokes about running the country. And the House of Lords that his father was given a seat in, that's where Mandelson asked, how old, about a 15-year-old girl. So can we all be honest? 18 days is a little strange. Not just a little. 9 months later, she's married at a Trump property with the leader of Brexit as a guest. And both of them call it love at first sight. God's plan. A voice told him. In December 2024, episode 119, George sat down for his first real interview in over 5 years of marriage, and he said this, quote, "There are many different women I'm married to because I'm never quite sure who I'm gonna get in one day.
What?
You know, it's like someday I'm gonna get one personality, and the next day it's this personality. And then you've got your investigative journalist hat on, and then you've got your mother's hat on, and then you've got your Catholic hat on." He's joking, it's a husband joke, but given everything this series has covered about programming, about people who switch between personas depending on who's watching, I'll let you sit with that.
Whoa.
Now, in my opinion, from what I've seen publicly, the on-camera dynamic between her and Charlie reads differently than her and George.
Yep. That's what I've been saying too. These handlers only came in when they saw that Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens were making a connection. The Candace and Kirk connection. They were engaged in 18 days. Now, I thought it was married, but maybe it was engaged. But it had to have been engaged. There's no way they got married in 18 days. It was probably engaged and then got married after.
It's not evidence. I'm not in their house. I'll let you be
I
the
am.
judge.
In the morning.
Okay, so let me show you something. Back in July 20...
Start a show creeping in Candace home in the morning. I show the footage of when I was creeping around in the nighttime, and I show it in the morning. So, creeping in Candace's cottage in the morning. The Charlie Kirk special.
2025, before the documents dropped, Candace launched a whole Epstein series, Dead Men Tell No Tales, 2.2 million views. The Midas Touch, 2 million. Why did they change their tune on Epstein? 1.8 million. So she's building up, she has all this anticipation, millions of people watching, so she's building herself up essentially as an Epstein researcher, the one to go through the files when they come out. February 1st, 2026, 3 million documents drop. Now let's see what she did after that. In 6 weeks, she's uploaded around 100 videos. Bride of Charlie episodes 1, 5.3 million views, episode 2, 3.4, episode 3, 2.8, and then an open letter to Erica Kirk.
Well, she was hitting she hit the number one podcast in the world. She had over 135,000 people in her chat at one point. Now, that seems like a lot to me. Maybe streamers are pulling in more than that. Let me go ahead and take a look at my numbers. 5. Okay, so I'm pulling in 5. Okay. So she was having 135,000. And saying that she'd be praying of like what to do next, and then would open up her email and just be like, "Da-na-na-na-da," and then open up this email of this guy saying that he saw Charlie Kirk at this in a secret meeting at the secret base and all this secret things. And Candace, come on, really? But she's pulling in the numbers.
3.9 million. 7 full episodes, plus 20-something clips, all Erica Kirk, over 30 million views just on the Kirk content. Her ball episode did 2.8 million, but look at the description. It's Jay-Z on the Epstein list. Nicki Minaj says your favorite artists are in a satanic cult. In the Charlie Kirk assassination timeline. It's just entertainment. That's not a woman researching, going through the filings. Now here's what happened while I was making the last few videos.
Okay, well, when does she have time? Okay, she's got a show every day or 5 days a week. I'm going to adopt that schedule. Seven is a bit much. It is a bit much. Especially if you want to get edited clips and I mean, I gotta come up with a new thumbnail. Oh man, I can't be reusing my thumbnail now that I'm shaving. See, this is the Great Reset. But yeah, she has a team to kind of help her out. And Mind Unveiled is being very, territorial with, the Epstein file DOJ researcher. Okay, he developed this whole tool to organize and make connections and all that. So anyone that dare say that they go through the DOJ files, Mind Unveiled will give you a mindful of esoteric slander. No, he will strike you down though. So please, Mind Unveiled, don't strike me down. We are part of your expanding community. Apparently, he was out there looking for people who stream his stuff. Now I don't know if it's so that he can strike them all down, but he was asking if there's anybody out there covering his stuff, and he was promoting a couple people. Now, if you guys want to say that Clip Version is doing that, that's up to you. Because we did a 7-hour festival with his last video about MK Monarch. So he does do a lot of good things, a lot of good content. And again, when I say content, I know it's not quite describing what it is that he's doing. He's doing quite a bit. He's like an Ian Carroll, investigative journalism and putting out these great videos. So yeah, he's basically like an Ian Carroll, just not a Mossad, allegedly.
She launched Bride of Charlie to go after Erica Kirk. She accused a dead man's widow of being an intelligence plant. She suggested Erica has connections to Epstein through a modeling agency. TPA USA said Erica never worked there, and no verified evidence has been presented publicly. In the episode where she tried to make that connection, did Erica Kirk know Jeffrey Epstein? Dropped on March 11th, 2026. You know what else dropped on March 11th? part 5 of this series, the same exact day. And then, within 48 hours of part 5 going up, Candace posts about Project Monarch on X. She's mentioned MK Ultra before in passing. She did an episode in 2022. But a specific post about Project Monarch within 48 hours of our part 5, talking about how the world will soon know. Now, people may see this as good. However, look at the language she is using and the direction. Now, I'm not saying she copied me or stole my work or anything. I'm saying she saw it. And if she saw it, then that means she might know what's in the files about her husband's world.
Ooh, yeah.
She told you she knows all about Project Monarch. Okay, then make the video.
Do it.
Not about Erica Kirk, about this. About the Bullingdon Club. About the Bull. About everything we just showed you. Your fans deserve that. And I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she's building up to it. But my issue is, well, we know she likes to talk about the ball stuff, right? I'm gonna say bail so it's a little bit easier. So she made the video, Bail So Hard. And on March 12th, she tweets some wild stuff about bail to Ben Shapiro. So you guys know she talks about bail constantly. Okay, so let me show you some crazy stuff. Because I don't think she's looked hard enough. Now look at her husband's club. The Bullingdon Club. Say it slowly. Bullingdon. The oldest records spell it Bullsden in 1179. Bullandina in 1231. English Place Name Society records it as Bull's Valley from Old English. The club's nickname is the Buller. Airmail ran a headline about them. You mess with the Buller, you get the horns. In Oxford itself, the city where this club operates, Oxford comes from Old English Oxenoforda, Ford of the Oxen, the Bull Club in the Ox City. Now look where his father operates. Lord Farmer's full title is Baron Farmer of Bishopsgate in the City of London. And the City of London is not regular London. It is a 1 square mile financial enclave with its own charter from 1067. That's older than the Magna Carta. It has its own police force, it has business-dominated elections where companies vote, not just people. And it has something called the Remembrancer, an unelected official who has sat in Parliament since 1571 protecting this city's interest. That is where Lord Farmer's title is anchored. And this square mile has been reset before. In 1666, the Great Fire burned for 4 days and just...
Now, it's funny that it mentions a fire. I was just about to mention these buildings. You know, this is a little bit of a off topic, but he kind of just brought it into a topic. You know, how come they're not making these kind of buildings anymore? And I started thinking, you know, like, because these buildings can withstand fire. And then I'm like, well, maybe that's the point. Maybe they don't want the buildings to withstand fire. Maybe they want the new buildings to the modern homes and buildings to be easily burnt down, so that they can build them again, or just destroy them. But why? Because this I'm just modern architecture. It is disgusting. I hate modern design. You go into these modern homes. Oh my God. They are so overly designed. You can just tell the pretentiousness of the designer and the architect just clicking and dragging and adding things and acting as if they're they're actually doing anything other than dragging and clicking and pasting. Okay. These illiterate fools trying to design our way into hell. And well, they're quite successful at it, because the modern design landscape is nothing but shit. No flow, no simplicity, no continuity, no curve. Everything's just, you know, you walk into a modern home and they don't even have open design anymore. You gotta walk around these pillars and walk around all this just to get to the fridge. Okay, you can't just walk uninterrupted. You have to twist your body and turn in so many different directions just to go in one spot. It's insane. I hate it. I hate all of it. And the people that are designing these things haven't built a thing in their life. They know nothing about form. They know the theory behind it, but they never had a practical application to building materials and just building in general. So get rid of them all. I don't want to see a single designer or architect doing another home in my life. But I am looking for an architect, because I got this building I want to build. So make sure he doesn't see this video, and I do mean he, because I hire no female architect. Oh my god. Just what if we put a sconce right here? They love sconces.
1571, protecting this city's interest. That is where Lord Farmer's title is anchored. And this square mile has been reset
look
before.
Look at
Farmer's
that. Look at that street.
Title is anchored.
Wow. It's like dark cobblestone. I guess maybe they painted it, but man, that looks nice. And the white painted stone too, like that. That's nice. That's nice too.
And this square mile has been reset before. In 1666, the Great Fire burned for 4 days and destroyed 4/5 of the city of London.
Yes, exactly, Wizard. They build the buildings. They can be easily destroyed because, yeah, they control the present by erasing the past. Yep, in the future. I mean, there's so many amazing structures and ancient civilizations that have been just devastated. What was the library? Alexander's library. Yeah, all this. All the pack 6. Now this is where people are saying that we're actually a 1,000 years too far ahead. Okay, they added 1,000 years to our timeline. And what they use as an I in front of it, they eventually just switch that to a 1. So it's actually 666. And we might be in 1926. Wait, is that right? Wait. If it's 2026 minus 1,000, yeah. So, and that's the whole Y2K, the reset. Because it goes back to 0. But since they added a 1, many people are seeing this I. Maybe the 1800s, 1900s was just 800, 900. I don't know. It's conspiracy night, folks. We're casting a large net in the schizo mind. Yeah, the Library of Alexandria. Yep. You'd think after all of these thousands of years, we would build structures that were not flammable. You would think that the people in Palisades in Malibu would build things that were not flammable, seeing that you live in the mountains where they burn, where there's fires just about every year.
13,200 houses, 87 churches, 52 guide halls. The entire medieval city was gone. And guess what? Only 6 people officially died. And keep in mind that 100,000 had already been wiped out by the plague the year before. So, back to back. 1665, plague. 1666, fire. Now the question is, who rebuilt it? The rebuild was controlled by a 6-man commission, and 2 of those men were Christopher Wren and Robert Hooke, both members of the Royal Society. The Royal Society was founded in 1660, just 6 years before the fire, and it grew out of something called the Invisible College, which is a term from the Rosicrucian pamphlets. Their founding member included Elias Ashmole, whose own diary confirms he was initiated into a Masonic lodge in 1646, and Sir Robert Moray, who Gresham College themselves described as, quote, soldier, scientist, spy, Freemason, and founder of Royal Society. And they have a memorial they built that's 202 feet tall, exactly 202 feet from where the fire started. Yeah, why don't you multiply that by 3?
No,
it's not just a memorial.
Was it 666?
It was designed as a zenith telescope with an underground laboratory beneath it for gravity experiments. So it's a scientific instrument disguised as a public monument? And when Wren walked through the ruins of old St. Paul's Cathedral, he found a stone fragment with one word on it. Resurgam, Latin for I shall rise again. He carved that word and the phoenix into the new cathedral. Order out of chaos. And underneath that square mile...
And of course it's from fire. Okay. They burnt it all down and then built this.
7 meters below Bloomberg's European headquarters on Walbrook Street, there's a Roman temple, built around 240 AD, discovered in 1954 on a World War II bomb site.
Wow.
It's a temple to Mithras. Let me walk you through what this actually was, because most people have only heard the name and maybe seen the image. Mithraism was a mystery religion in ancient Roman times
Nice.
focused on the god Mithras that dominated the Roman Empire for centuries. It was the religion of the military, of officers, of administrators, of the people who actually ran things. And it was entirely secret. Now, Surface Wiki will only tell you so much, but essentially, this is an ancient cult with a bull sacrifice ritual with the purpose of creating a god. Sounds crazy, but stay with me. You see this? That image is called a tauroctony. Mithras drives the dagger into the bull's throat. A scorpion is clamped onto the bull's private parts, attacking its generative power. A dog and a snake are drinking directly from the open wound, consuming the blood. A raven watches from above as the messenger. And from the body of the bull, from its spinal cord and blood, wheat and vine grow. Life from death, generation from sacrifice. Now the question is, why do we see the same Phrygian cap on Mithras that we see on the Magi in every Renaissance fresco? Why is that same cap worn by the French Masons and assigned to Libertas? Are we not supposed to notice this? Let's go deeper. Do you know what a taurobolium is? It's kind of hard to find if you don't know where to look. The fossa sanguinis, the pit. They dig a trench into the ground and cover it with a wooden platform with holes drilled through it. Then, the initiate goes down into the pit.
Wow.
A bull is led onto the platform above them and sacrificed with a consecrated spear. And everything that comes out of that animal pours down through the perforations into the person below. The 4th century poet Prudentius.
It's like a Blade, the opening sequence of Blade. They're in the shower baths, or the shower, the blood showers. Like, they're like, yeah.
Who saw this with his own eyes, describes what happens next. They emerge from the pit, renatus in aeternum, reborn for eternity, purified.
Yes, we are very desperately in need of another Blade, and we don't need Wesley Snipes. Okay, he was great because of his age at that time. I don't want to see an old man. Okay, and I forgot how the whole thing was, so maybe he wouldn't be able to do it anyways because he's supposed to be a vampire and he can't age regardless. So Michael B. Jordan, okay. Yeah, which he had that vampire movie too. But let's start slaying some vamps, okay? We need to, the Brothers Grimm talked about Hansel and Gretel, and killing the witch, pushing it in the oven, and that was Hansel and Gretel was made during the time where there was a lot of the witch hunt was happening in Germany, and a lot of people were starving, and they were killing witches, folks. So as I do the little Gavin Newsom jig, understand what I'm trying to say, okay? We need a resurgence on the old Salem witch trials. Okay, get rid of these people. It was during this time where the public was fed up with the elite, and they started burning witches on a stake. don't let their parents abandon them in the original story. Oh, there's a rabbit hole about Salem witch trials being faked by the Freemasons. Wow. Now, Lulu, when they abandoned them, it was when that story was written. It was, and it accounted for this in the story, is because there was a famine. They were starving. They couldn't feed their children and feed themselves, and we. What stream was that where we took a look at the Cabbage Patch Kids, and the first movie ever created was a lady promoting selling babies, and the babies were in a cabbage garden. And during that time, people were giving up their children to the church. They're just tossing them because they didn't have enough food to feed them and their baby. Now, in Hansel and Gretel, there's cannibalism in that as well. So it's very timely right now to do a Hansel and Gretel remake. You got cannibalism, you got witch, you got child abandonment. And the children were navigating through the woods and then having to find their way back, and then they eventually killed the mother, and then I think they had a stepmother. And they're talking about how this video I was watching about the Hansel and Gretel. They were talking about how a lot of the mothers would die during birth, but there's a lot of folk tales of very mean women. The evil stepmother. So, why is that, folks? Why is that? Please don't misunderstand women, okay? They'll get angry. But for whatever reason, there was a lot of vitriol to the women. They calling them all witches and burning them. Ooh, nice. I'm convinced women started dying from childbirth after the current medical practices were forced upon them. Yeah, interesting. Yep. Because, yeah, why would they, I mean, I'm sure there's birth complications, but supposedly we've been doing it for centuries, and doing halfway decent, and all of a sudden the death rate started climbing up. Maybe there always were quite a few or something, but you're thinking that they created the deaths. Interesting. Yeah, exactly. Everything they stand for is an assault on fertility. It is definitely that, for sure. Yeah, they've got everything twisted, thinking that family and creating, having a child, uh, like there's something wrong with that, and that you need to um, have, you know, my body, my choice, and so I get to kill whatever baby I want. All just because of, yeah. Wanted to be a promiscuous. I was gonna say something, but now I'm gonna go there. Um, yeah. So it's definitely an assault on creation, on preservation, on the sacred, and I mean now you can pretty much schedule a time when you can, you know, abort a baby or give birth to a baby. Nothing's natural anymore. Now the babies aren't even natural. They got designer babies. He's a designer.
Of all past actions, regarded as the equal of God, reborn. Remember part 4? Renovatio? At the soldier grade, they brand a cross into your forehead with a hot iron to mark you as property of the deity. 7 grades of initiation. Corax the Raven, through Pater the Father. Each one compartmentalized so you only knew the mysteries of your own level and below. Keep in mind this was not a fringe religion on the edges of the empire. This was the dominant faith of the Roman military and administrative class. The temples cluster along every militarized frontier: Hadrian's Wall, the Rhine, the Danube, North Africa. The people who actually ran the empire were in these underground temples around the sacrifice of a bull. And when the Catholic Church suppressed Mithraism in the 4th century, it didn't disappear. It changed form. The historian H.L. Haywood traced the transmission from Mithraism into Manichaeism,
exactly. Yep.
and then into the Paulicians, then into the medieval Cathars and Waldensians, underground movements that were hunted as heretics for centuries but never fully destroyed. Then the Knights Templar. 9 ranks, accusations of secret initiation rituals and idol worship so specific that mainstream historians still argue about whether they were fabricated or real. Let's remember that even Crowley claimed Baphomet, the idol the Templars were accused of worshipping, was derived from Father Mithras, Pater Mithras, the highest grade of the cult. And then, Freemasonry.
There you
Albert
go.
Pike, the most authoritative Masonic writer who ever lived, in Morals and Dogma, 1871, explicitly describes the Mithraic 7-grade ladder as a Masonic symbol.
All right, the 7th grade ladder and 7 stages. Pike reference references to the stage initiation process in Mithraism, often associated with ascending through planetary spheres, often depicted as a ladder or staircase linking them to the initiatory path within Masonry, specifically within the higher degrees of the Scottish Rite. So, does that mean that Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin were Freemasons? Stairway to Heaven? Freemasonry as modern mysteries. Pike frequently described Freemasonry as the modern vehicle that carries the philosophical, moral, and spiritual wisdom of ancient mysteries, including those of Egypt, Persia, Mithrica, and Greece. 7 altars and planets. Pike extensively discussed the number 7 in Masonic rituals, citing the 7 liberal arts and sciences, 7 planets, and the 7 steps of the Masonic ladder, drawing a direct lineage between these symbolic numbers and the 7 altars / spheres associated with Mithrica. Am I saying that right? No, not Mithrica. Mithric? Initiations. Yeah, I've heard of the 7 planes of existence, the 7 heavens. If the Masons were a force for good, they lost some war no one was told about. Yeah, I still think that the Freemasons were this, um, this kind of wordplay, double entendre, much like women's lib and even Black Lives Matters. Like you think it's going to be promoting the benefit of the thing that they're talking about, but really it's imprisoning them. But don't know too much about the origins of Freemasonry. I'm sure it was started to free the Masons. Look, guys, you don't have to be part of these builders guilds anymore. You don't have to be an apprentice and you can be free and go and live on your own. Maybe that's when the land grab started. Like, go, build. You're a Freemason. Well, the thing is, I went to a sign language concert in a Mason temple once. Whoa. Yeah, they like the deaf. So they pry on the deaf so that they can't hear the screams.
Explicitly describes the Mithraic 7-grade ladder as a Masonic symbol. 7 altars consecrated to 7 planets. The candidate passing through 7 stages of initiation through fearful trials.
This is why I had to shave my beard. It was looking Pike-esque.
He called Freemasonry the modern era of the ancient mysteries.
Fat
That's the
ass.
supreme commander of the Scottish Rite.
You fat ass bitch.
Michael Tessarian maps this all out. Adonism, to Mithras, to Sol Invicti, to Christianity, to Templarism, to Freemasonry, to the British Empire. Same cult, different centuries, different clothes. Okay, so now let's talk about British intelligence. The structure of MI5 and MI6 is the Mithraic structure. Compartmentalized information, need-to-know clearance levels, graded hierarchy, oath-bound secrecy, recruitment by selection, not application.
That dude's a
Secular
gamer.
rank,
Yeah.
irrelevant inside
He
the
looks like a
apparatus.
gamer.
And even the Nazis knew it. Heinrich Himmler was obsessed with the idea that British intelligence was being run as a Rosicrucian order with the cult adepts in charge of MI5. And was he wrong? John Dee, 1527 to 1608, Queen Elizabeth's court astronomer, alchemist, ceremonial magician, and spy, signed his intelligence letters to the Queen with the symbol 007.
Whoa.
This is where Ian Fleming got it. Aleister Crowley, confirmed MI5 and MI6 asset, declassified US military intelligence files, says he was an employee of the British government on official business. Crowley is the one who said Baphomet comes from Pater Mithras. His disciple, Maxwell Knight, ran MI5's counter-subversion section B5B and is widely considered to be the model for M in the Bond novels. Knight brought the occult novelist Dennis Wheatley into Churchill's wartime deception planning.
And there's connections with Onassis, Aristotle Onassis, and Howard Hughes, the Casino Royale gang. We got a video in the pipeline from Control Alt History about Aristotle Onassis. We'll be taking a look at that shortly. I don't know about today, but it's in the pipeline. Should be a good one.
Fleming knew all of them. Based Le Chiffre on Crowley's appearance, named his agent after Dee's signature, and devised a plan with Knight to use Crowley to interrogate captured Nazi Rudolf Hess by exploiting Hess's known obsession with the occult. This is documented in Richard Spence's Secret Agent 666. And then there's the bowling den. I would assume that Candace has heard of it. Now I don't know how much she knows, but I do remember seeing this clip, which is pretty crazy. It would seem Candace knows about Tartaria.
I don't really know what's up and what's down, to be honest with you. I don't even believe in the moon landing.
Tartaria.
So, there you go. There's another one. There's something there. That's very funny. I would.
Not kidding.
Okay, but I already showed you who was in it. The kings, the prime ministers, the Rothschilds, and we went over the EFTA connections. But let's go a little deeper. So if you know what Tartaria is, then you'll understand. They destroy old world buildings. It's literally a destruction club, a vandalism club. I went through every documented Bullingdon incident on record that I could find, and in 1894, they smashed 468 windows in Peckwater Quad at Christ Church. That building is Grade 1 listed, one of the earliest examples of Palladian architecture in England, built in 1706 on a site that goes back to 1246. Grade 1 is the highest designation in the country. Only 2.5% of all protected buildings receive it. In 2005, they destroyed a pub called the White Hart in Fifield, Grade 2 star, built around 1442 as a charitable hospital for the poor. Princess Diana's nephew organized that dinner and he got fined £80. In 2010, they vandalized the Hartwell House, another Grade 1, a Jacobean mansion from 1570 where the exiled King of France signed the document accepting his crown. They started a fire inside the King's Arms, Oxford's oldest pub, licensed since 1607. They trashed the Tudor Room at Weston Manor, a 15th century manor built inside a 13th century moat. Every single venue on record is a historically protected building. They don't just smash up chain restaurants. It would seem they go after old world architecture. And the newspapers in 1894 described the morning after Peckwater Quad as looking like, quote, the explosion of a bomb. The initiation follows the exact pattern we just traced. Mithras, to the Templars, to Freemasonry, death, and rebirth. I already told you about the initiation, how they destroy your room while you watch. Why? And what does that even mean? Radek Sikorski, who went on to become the foreign minister of Poland, describes what happened to him. He said in the middle of the night, a dozen screaming figures burst into his room and demolished everything he owned. And then after everything was destroyed, Boris Johnson walked up, shook his hand, and said, "Congratulations, man. You've been chosen." So in a way, that's the rebirth. Think about it. What other logical explanation is there for doing this? It makes no sense. And the landlord of that pub they destroyed in 2005 said, "Each time I pulled one of them out of the melee, they apologized to me and were extremely polite, but then jumped right back in. It seems like some kind of ritual." So why are they doing rituals? Apparently members also swear a code of silence they call omerta. Boris Johnson, when reminded of the club, reportedly whispers omerta, omerta under his breath. An insider who spoke to the Daily Beast called it, quote, institutionalized bad behavior where you're rewarded for getting drunk and doing as much damage as possible. Institutionalized? That's fraternal language. This is what you want to be connected with, Candace? And if so, why won't you talk about it in more detail? I do see that you're talking about Freemasons and rituals related to Charlie Kirk, but this is definitely all connected. Evelyn Waugh attended Oxford in the 1920s and watched the Bullingdon firsthand. He put them in his novel, Decline and Fall, as the Bullinger Club, and described their dinners as the sound of the English county families baying for broken glass. Tom Dryburgh, who was there at Oxford with Waugh, said his satire was, quote, a mild account of the night of any Bullingdon Club dinner in Christ Church. Such a profusion of glass I never saw until the height of the Blitz. He's talking about the German bombing of London in World War II. After 1894, the club was banned from meeting within 15 miles of Oxford. Yet they came back. Winston Churchill himself, speaking in Parliament in 1910, this is Hansard, the permanent record. He said the sons of other classes may commit many of the same kind of offenses, and in boisterous and exuberant moments, whether at Oxford or anywhere else, may do things for which the working classes are committed to prison. Basically, we're the elite class and we can do what we want. If the working class does this, you go to prison. Also, did you know that there is a Masonic lodge at Oxford called Apollo University Lodge number 357? You can only join if you've matriculated at the university. 3 Bullingdon Club members were initiated into this one lodge. Prince Leopold, Queen Victoria's youngest son, Bullingdon member, initiated into Apollo Lodge in May 1874. Provincial Grand Master of Oxfordshire by age 22. The Masonic press was openly discussing making him Grand Master of all England before he died at 30 from hemophilia. His brother, Edward VII, Grand Master of England for 27 years, personally proposed him for membership. Roger Lumley, 11th Earl of Scarborough, in the 1925 Bullingdon Club photograph, initiated into the same Apollo Lodge on the 3rd of May 1923. Roger Lumley became the Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England, the highest Masonic office in the country, for 16 years, 1951 to 1967. He achieved what Leopold was being groomed for before he died: Bullingdon dinner jacket to Grand Master's regalia. And then Cecil Rhodes, Bullingdon member, initiated into Apollo Lodge in 1877. And on the same day he became a life member, the same day he sat down and wrote what he called his Confession of Faith. In it, he wrote, "I become a member of the Masonic Order. I see the wealth and power they possess. Why should we not form a secret society with but one object, the furtherance of the British Empire? And then this. We should have its members placed at our universities and our schools and should watch the English youth passing through their hands." And he did it. The Society of the Elect in 1891, modeled on the Jesuits and Freemasonry, which became the Round Table Movement, which became the Rhodes Scholarship, which is still operating out of Oxford today. And it's not just the Bullingdon Club. There's a web. The Gridiron Club, founded 1884, the political networking arm. David Cameron was a member of both the Bullingdon and the Gridiron simultaneously, 1987 to 1988. He ran the Destruction Club and the Power Club at the same time. John le Carré, the spy novelist, was a Gridiron member while working for both MI5 and MI6 as a student at Oxford. Rory Stewart, Gridiron member, his father was vice chief of MI6. And Stewart chaired something called La Cercle, a secret invitation-only foreign policy forum that the conservative MP Alan Clark described in his diaries as, quote, funded by the CIA. Stewart never declared this to Parliament. Then there's the Piers Gaveston Society, named after the rumored lover of King Edward II. There's 12 members. Guests loaded onto buses with blacked-out windows and driven to a field. Phones confiscated. NDAs signed? The events are described as transgressive. Cameron was allegedly in this one too. Gottfried von Bismarck, great-grandson of the German Chancellor, was in both the Piers Gaveston and the Bullingdon. And underneath all of these, the oldest one, the Phoenix Common Room at Brasenose College, founded 1782. Again, 12 members. Brown tailcoats. A silver phoenix figurine sits at the table as their 13th member. In the 1820s, Brasenose housed its own Hellfire Club chapter with satanic toast. 2 members died in connection with devil worship rituals. Edward Lee Trafford in 1834 and John Woodhouse in 1840. Woodhouse reportedly died upon toasting the devil and was found dragged through the bars of a window. The satanic toast were abolished after that. Now that Hellfire chapter at Brasenose wasn't the original. The real Hellfire Club was founded by Sir Francis Dashwood in the 1740s. He called it the Order of the Friars of St. Francis of Wickham. They met at Medmenham Abbey on the Thames, a ruined Cistercian monastery that Dashwood rebuilt specifically for the order. And above the entrance he carved a phrase, "Do what thou wilt." Aleister Crowley used the exact same words as the central law of his religion, Thelema, 150 years later. It would seem Crowley inherited it from Dashwood, who took it from Rabelais, who wrote it as the motto of a fictional abbey in 1534. But apparently, Dashwood made it real. He built the abbey in stone.
Yeah, and Jan said that you must be reduced to nothing in order to be reborn into the organization. That's basically hazing. And that they called it beasting in UK. Wow. So all of this, even Boris Johnson, he was elected, and then within a matter of a few weeks or maybe a couple months, he declared everyone to stay at home during the COVID. So they were part of this, reducing everything to nothing, and then the Build Back Better group, the Bull. But I remember his announcement was very, very ominous. He's like, you are not allowed to go out of your homes. You are only allowed to go out for one time a day for a brief exercise, getting groceries. If you do not comply, we will arrest you. There are no gathering in groups. You have to remember, folks, they wouldn't let us gather in groups, forcing us to be 6 feet apart. For whatever reason, everyone has their ideas of, monitoring and tracking, but they just want compliance. Okay, this is forced compliance just to see how far they can go. So please do your due diligence now while it's easy, and practice saying no. Don't conform to what they want. So that when times are tough, it'll be easy. But we got to practice now. And them telling us what we can and cannot do. Doesn't sit well with old Clip Virgin.
Interestingly, Candace talks about this. She calls them Frankists. Jacob Frank, 18th century, a sect whose central doctrine was redemption through sin. Cross every line, break every law, that's how you reach God. She calls it a satanic cult masquerading as something else. Same doctrine, same century. Dashwood carved "Do What Thou Wilt" above a door in England in the 1740s, and Frank was preaching redemption through sin in Poland in the 1750s. She's looking at the 18th century version of this philosophy in Eastern Europe. The English version was meeting at a rebuilt abbey on the Thames. The membership of Dashwood's Hellfire Club reads like government. The Earl of Sandwich, the First Lord of the Admiralty running through Royal Navy, the Earl of Bute, Prime Minister by 1762, John Wilkes, the most famous radical politician in England, and Benjamin Franklin. Franklin visited Mendham multiple times during his years in London. In 1998, during renovations of Franklin's London house at 36 Craven Street, workers found the remains of at least 10 people buried in the basement, 6 of them children. Underneath Dashwood's estate at West Wickham, the caves are still there. They're a quarter mile deep into the chalk, opening into a series of chambers, the last one called the Inner Temple. And to reach it, you cross an underground river they named the River Styx, the River of the Dead. You cross it, you enter the temple, you come back reborn. But think about it. Oxford, Oxenoforda, the ford of the oxen, the Ox City. And in the Ox City, a fraternal order that destroys Grade 1 listed Old World architecture as its initiation ritual, whose members swear omerta. 3 of them walked into the same Masonic lodge, and 2 of them became Grand Masters of English Freemasonry. And the 3rd built his own secret society and put it in his will. And keep in mind, the motto of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, the highest degree, order out of chaos. And apparently, George Farmer was the president of this Bull Club. The son of Baron Farmer of Bishopsgate in the city of London, the square mile above the temple of the bull-slaying god, ran the Bull Club in the Ox City, and he proposed to Candace Owens in 18 days. Now there's one more layer. I promise I'm not reaching. There's a movement called British Israelism. It was huge in the 19th and early 20th century among the British elite, and it claims the British descend from the lost tribes. In England specifically, they identify as the tribe of Ephraim, and Ephraim's tribal symbol in Jewish tradition is the bull. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 17. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock. And Michael Tessarian, crazy how we've come full circle, calls British Israelism one of the cult of Aton's chief propaganda organs, a tool used to justify British imperial rule through biblical identity. Now, whether you believe that framework or not, the bull symbol runs through British elite culture. You can't unsee it once you see it. John Bull is the national personification of England. The bulldog is the national animal. Even the Vatican governs through papal bulls. Now look at this. The Rothschild coat of arms. A lion on the left, a unicorn on the right. Those are the same supporters on the royal coat of arms of the United Kingdom. Now in Jewish tribal tradition, the lion is the symbol of the tribe of Judah. The unicorn, okay, so listen, the unicorn in heraldry comes from the same verse I just read you. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 17. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. The bull and the unicorn are the same animal. Biblical scholars in the Brit-Am Hebrew Nations Project have documented this. The Hebrew word re'em, that gets translated as unicorn in the King James Bible, also translates as wild bull or wild ox.
Good point, Jan. The bull outside Wall Street probably is connected too. Yep. The Bull Run. And the bull in the China shop. Destroying everything.
Refer to the auroch, a massive wild bovine that went extinct, and apparently when artists who had never seen one tried to draw it from a description, a huge horned beast, they drew a horse with one horn. The unicorn is the bull seen in profile. 2 horns become 1.
Oh, that's interesting. That this is basically a unicorn, but it's just a profile. There's actually 2 horns. I like that. That's a good way to think of it.
Unicorn is the bull seen in profile. 2 horns become 1. And remember Nathaniel Rothschild? Nat? was in Bullingdon Club at Oxford alongside David Cameron, Boris Johnson, and George Osborne. The same Nat Rothschild who appears in...
Oh, great point, John. Yeah, maybe the Spanish created bullfighting to symbolize their disdain for the Brits. To show that they are not afraid.
In the Epstein files, the same one Peter Mandelson told Epstein he'd been seeking advice from, and Epstein himself wrote to Peter Thiel in 2016. This is in the DOJ document release, EFTA 023876645. As you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. Les Wexner testified under oath to the House Oversight Committee that he gave Epstein power of attorney based on, and I quote, his personal work for the Rothschild family in France. So the family whose coat of arms carries the Bull of Ephraim and the Lion of Judah, whose scion sat in the Bull Club at Oxford, whose name appears throughout the Epstein files, that family is the one Jeffrey Epstein told people he represented? Don't you get it? The bull. Bull worship. From ancient Canaanites to Mithras to modern secret societies. And it would apparently seem the woman who tells 6 million subscribers about Baal worship married into a world that sits at the intersection of all of it. Anti-Trump blogger, doxing website fails, conservative overnight, TPUSA in 14 months, 80 million views in 6 months, engaged in 18 days to the president of the Bullingdon Club, Bulls Valley, the Buller, married at Trump Winery in 9 months. His father, Baron Farmer of Bishopsgate in the City of London, above the temple of the bull-slaying god, 7 meters below Bloomberg, and she makes an episode called Ball So Hard. She made a series called The Bride of Charlie. She investigated who Charlie Kirk married, who she really was, where she came from, and what the connections look like. I just did the same thing to her. Her husband said it herself. There are many different women I'm married to. I'm never quite sure who I'm gonna get. And she told you. Overnight. Every EFTA document I reference in this video is in the public release. Every statement about Lord Farmer is on.
Yeah, Fisk. Yeah, I had to shave it. You know, every rose has its thorn. You know, not every bearded man has a weak jaw. No, yeah. There are far better jaws, but I appreciate it. Thank you. It was nerve-wracking, but I was getting too much like a billy goat. Okay. Just a little too much. I was getting kicked out of places, banned from places, thinking I'm, some homeless guy. I was getting offers to be an undercover. Just growing out my beard. Okay. But new season, new look for Old Clip Virgin. And we got a lot in store. Got a lot happening. I can move my face now. I was a little nervous that I would lose my voice because although I do feel like I am losing my voice. Because that beard keeps me lockjawed. So that's where I came up with this voice. Now I can't even do it. Yeah. Oh, because you can't really move your face. But now I got all this dexterity. So I'll start over enunciating in no time. But In the meantime, I'll be old marble mouth as much as I can. I do mumble. I will work on the enunciation. But oh my God, what old let's see. Now, yeah, I want to say, I will get my voice back. I will find some of the baritone that the beard gave me. But in the meantime, I'll work with what I got. But good to see you. Fisk guy, you gotta check out the intro. I did the intro special for you. So make sure you check out the beginning. Sounded Canadian right there. Check out the beginning. Oh, does this make me a Canuck? Now that I shave, I'm Canadian, yeah. I don't know how they talk.
On his Wikipedia page and UK parliamentary record. Every detail about the marriage timeline comes from Candace and George's own interviews. Every detail about the Bullingdon Club, the City of London, the Mithraeum, the 7 grades of Mithras, the Rothschild coat of arms, the etymology of every word, the declassified MI5 files on Crowley. It's all public record. The connections and patterns I've drawn are my interpretation of that public record. I give you the receipts so you can check my work. And so, why does the person with the biggest platform in this space marry into it? One last thing. For anyone asking who I am,
Who are you?
I'm an artist. I've dedicated my life to research, and it shows. I literally grinded my way up here. Have you made a 9-hour video?
I made a 15.
I've shown time and time again that I'm willing.
I made a 15-hour stream, Mind Unveiled, and I made a 7-hour video off of your one video. So you and I are the same. Allow me to latch on to your bull coattails.
To work for the truth. Not one sponsor in 7 years. That's the difference between me and these other people that you call plants. I'm not giving you truth. I'm working for it myself, and you're joining along.
I'll take
I
you
know
up
my
on that,
supporters
Jan.
know.
Yep.
But I'm done with the comments calling me a plant. I earned this.
I can be French, Canadian.
You know the difference.
Oui, oui.
I trust you to see this. Get ready for part 7. And if you guys don't mind, please come follow me on X. I'm much more active there now with everything going on, and I could definitely use the extra support.
All right, well there you go. That's Mind Unveiled. Take a look at his channel. It's a great channel. A lot of great material there. Now we still got a little bit of time here. Speaking of Mickey Mouse, we do have some Tracy Twyman and her popular The Secret of Minnie's Mouse. We got that, and we got Aristotle. Aristotle Onassis, the life of, with Control History. I'd like to dive into this. But before we do, I'm going to take a little break. Let's take a little break. Let me see if I can do one thing here. Oh, that's nice. It's not doing that. So if you guys need to get your water refills, this would be the time to do it. I'm gonna go to the slideshow here. All right, let me put it on break here, and we'll start back up in just a couple minutes here. We'll be starting shortly. We'll be starting shortly. Thank you for hanging in there. We'll be back in just a moment. We're back, folks. Clip Virgin Conspiracy Night. There's a lot that we need to go over. Control of history. Aristotle Onassis. And we got Tracy Weinman. The Secret of Minnie Mouse. These are must-sees. I don't know if you guys have seen these. The darkest lost media. Some deep occult stuff here. Or deep cult stuff. So, a lot to go over, folks. A lot to go over. Wanna maybe ask the chat. I'm thinking we should start with Aristotle, and then we can either do Tracy Wyman or this one is pretty good too. Maybe we do that, and that we can have Tracy Wyman on her own evening, and we'll do these two back to back here. Let's do that. But Aristotle Onassis, he was very much involved with basically starting conspiracy theories. His involvement with Jackie Kennedy and John F. Kennedy, his involvement with Howard Hughes and establishing his trust. His estate. They signed it over to him, or to either Onassis or another person. But they basically started controlling Howard Hughes and acting as if they were him. And yeah. And Wizard saying Jackie fired the fatal shot. And what's so crazy too is that she had spent 2 weeks on a yacht with him just beforehand. Was it 2 weeks or maybe a few days? So she might have been MK Ultra, or at least, yeah, given some pointers. The second gunman on the grassy knoll is Jackie's gun echoing, bouncing off the wooden fence. Nice. She might have been a biological male. Oh my God. We are in conspiracy night, folks. She has done some strange features. Wow. Okay. That's why I'm doing this show, so I can learn these things. I'm very much interested, and I don't know them all. So let's do it. I like that thread of thought though. I can really you can catch the projectile going up from JFK's head. Yep. Wild stuff. They've been lying to us.
Probably gets
Been lying to us for so long. And laughing at us.
my vote as the most fascinating person in history. He is such an interesting guy. Most people know him as the guy who married Jackie Kennedy after JFK's death, but there is just so much more to him than that. He was insanely rich, the richest man alive, according to some, and there's a lot of mystery and intrigue around how he got his wealth. But probably most interesting of all, there are a lot of things that have been written about Onassis being the man behind the JFK.
Okay, we got Control History doing full screen now. All right. In our early days, the early years, it feels like we are 80, 83, 84 Go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. I think we're actually at 83 episodes. Let me double check. We are. So let me change that. So 83 episodes. Now, in the beginning episodes that we were doing a couple months back, I was anti-control out history. Okay, I was on the other side of history. He was really far in this little corner right here, and then I was in really tiny in the other corner. So he's always been known for being really tiny in the corner, and now he is going full screen, folks. Now I got you tiny in the corner. I'm full screen. I might have to do a little bit of control out history now. This is the new control out history. But again, I'm not HD yet, folks. I can't count the eggs before they're hatched. I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse. Okay. So until then, thank you. And you guys have been too kind with the I was so nervous when I shaved. I thought for sure I was going to lose my Nordic audience. So thank you for sticking around. Now here we are. So Control of History now is full screen. He's hitting 50K, 52K subs. So got a little bit of an upgrade. Now he's able to do a little Jimmy Kennedy and invest in himself. And here he is, full screen it. And he's got some great ones on the gem. If you haven't already, and go ahead and subscribe and like his videos. But his gemstone is a great one, and it's quite a bit back here. There you go. A year ago. So good. And this one right here too. The greatest conspiracy theory ever. A deep dive into the gemstone files. That one specifically is something I've seen a few times already. And just great information about Aristotle Onassis, about John F. Kennedy and Jackie Kennedy and Howard Hughes. So really, I couldn't recommend this more. So here we are, talking about Aristotle
This will be a
Onassis.
video about Aristotle Onassis, who probably gets my vote as the most fascinating person in history. He is such an interesting guy. Most people know him as the guy who married Jackie Kennedy after JFK's death, but there is just so much more to him than that. He was insanely rich, the richest man alive, according to some.
Whoa.
And there's a lot of mystery and intrigue around how he got his wealth. But probably most interesting of all, there are a lot of things that have been written about Onassis being the man behind the JFK and Robert Kennedy assassinations. There was some serious bad blood between Onassis and the Kennedys.
Wow, that door looked like it was open. I mean, it is open. Oh wait, maybe he's about to open it. I mean, you know something's about to go down if you're 3 rows back of a moving vehicle. Just it's just not natural.
Kennedy assassinations, there was some serious bad blood between Onassis and the Kennedys. And this is actually going to be a 2-part video. I'm just going to talk about Onassis and his fascinating life in this first video. And then right after this, I'll do a part 2 focused on his links to the Kennedy assassinations. The video is just going to be just a little too long if I included everything in it. So I'm going to break it up into 2.
So Wizard's thinking that she might be male. I mean, she definitely looks fake. And really, it's like you kind of see this look on all the first ladies, all the, yeah, the ones who are under contract, like with Tom Cruise. No, but even Brigitte Macron kind of has this blank stare. No, she's just like, I just assassinated my, yeah. That person is looking in. I don't know if I can even call you a woman. That's how quickly I'll change my whole viewpoint. Jackie Onassis.
2 parts. So we'll get into it. And Onassis was born in 1900 right outside the city of Smyrna, which is now known as Izmir. He was born into a very wealthy family, but the Greco-Turkish War broke out when he was a teenager, and this was just a brutal war. Aristotle Onassis' family had everything they owned either stolen from them or destroyed in this war. 3 of his uncles were murdered, his father was imprisoned, and a general in the conquering army took over and moved into the former Onassis mansion and forced Aristotle Onassis to become his live-in lover. And it was described how this was just so traumatic for Onassis to experience this as a teenager, to have his family destroyed and lose everything and become the live-in boyfriend of this older man. It turned Onassis into this total ruthless hard ass. And he has this quote about the effect it had on him. He said, "I learned that if anyone ever messes with me or my family again, I was going to kick the shit out of them." And he eventually escaped and he fled to Argentina and
everyone has that attitude now.
South America, and he started making just a ton of money in a very short amount of time. It was said that he worked a few odd jobs and then started importing tobacco from Greece. And then he eventually made enough money in that to buy some large shipping vessels and oil tankers. And that's when he started making just ridiculous money. He eventually built one of the biggest shipping fleets in the world, and he made billions shipping oil worldwide. So his official story is like the ultimate rag.
Yeah, but why did it immediately go to shipping? Trafficking? So they can traffic people?
To riches story from
Allegedly.
penniless at age 20 to one of the richest people alive. It's a great story, but there's more likely way more to it than that. The more likely story is that he was involved in drug trafficking, and that's how he made a lot of his money. The area he came from near Turkey was the biggest producer in the world of opium, which was used to produce heroin. It was so notorious that it was referred to as Turkish tobacco. And one of the main drug trafficking routes at the time was shipping opium from this Mediterranean region to Argentina in South America, which, as I mentioned, is where Onassis just happened to move and started making all this money. And even this famous opera singer, Maria Callas, who was involved with Onassis for a long time, she even said in an interview that Onassis
Are older women fake? I mean, that looks like a what are those Japanese women that give you tea and stuff?
Told
Weird.
her that he trafficked heroin by hiding it in his shipping vessels, and that was how he made so much money. So regardless of how he made all this money, somehow he started making just a ton of money in his 20s and even more in his 30s and 40s, and he basically just went wild with all this money.
He was like Jake Paul. Must have been a YouTuber.
He bought townhomes and mansions throughout the world and built a yacht that was the biggest yacht in the world at the time. It was described as the epitome of luxury. There were 9 guest bedrooms and a 4-room master bedroom, and the rooms were all decorated with famous artwork and had frescoes painted on the ceilings. There was also
Jeez.
a massive library, a marble staircase, and there was a swimming
What?
pool that could be drained, and then the floor could be elevated to become a dance floor. And when Prince Rainier of Monaco married movie star Grace Kelly in what was called the wedding of the century, Onassis is the one who arranged the wedding, and their honeymoon took place on his yacht. He also bought up pretty much the whole city of Monte Carlo. He eventually controlled over 1/3 of the total acreage of Monte Carlo. And it was just a quiet coastal town before
Wow.
Onassis, and he made all these renovations and upgrades and turned it into what was described as a playground for the rich. He had this quote about his plans for Monte Carlo. He said he planned to turn that sorry-ass town into something tasty. And the crown jewel of what he owned in Monte Carlo was the Casino Monte Carlo. He bought this casino and added all these high-end luxury touches and turned it into what was regarded as the most luxurious casino in the world at the time. And he also became friends with just a ton of celebrities and powerful politicians. Here he is with Winston Churchill. John Paul Getty was a close friend of his. Greta Garbo went to his yacht a lot. Here's John Wayne on Onassis' yacht. And there were just a ton of other famous actors and actresses and politicians.
So you can see how, this is very Bond villain-esque. Okay, he's got the yacht, the money, the politicians in his pocket, the over luxury.
Who spent time on his yacht.
Like his luxury is ornate. Yeah.
He was also one of the ultimate womanizers of all time. He was involved with just a ton of women. His first marriage was to Tina Lavanos, and he first met her when she was 14 and he was 43. And they got married when she was 17 and he was 46.
Wait, I was just about to say, well, at least he's not with underage kids, but what?
He was 43 and they got married all time. He met her when she was 14 and he was 43. And they got married when she was 17 and he was 46. So that's interesting. And he was also involved with this world famous opera singer Maria Callas for a long time. And obviously he eventually married Jackie Kennedy. That wasn't until later in life that he married her.
Is that a Jennifer Aniston? That's why I called the little things right there on the neck. I call it Jennifer Aniston.
He also bought his way into just a ton of businesses. At one point, he owned controlling interests in 95 multinational businesses across 5 continents. He owned gold mining companies, a chemical company, a bunch of shipping companies. He also bought Olympic Airlines out of Greece, and he also built the 52-story Olympic Tower in New York City. So he basically just went wild with all this money he was making. But of all the purchases he made, the most interesting one was his private island Scorpios, which was his primary residence for a long time. And his island Scorpios was just absolutely insane. It was 200 acres, and he bought the island when it was nothing but trees. He built 10 guest houses on the island and built 3 mansions to live in and a whole bunch of other buildings.
Wow.
He also imported hundreds of tons of sand and added these beautiful beaches to the waterfront. He built a greenhouse and a farm with horses.
Wow.
Scorpios also had a helipad with a runway for planes.
Okay, so underage, he has shipping connections, islands. So he's definitely trafficking.
With horses. Scorpios also had a helipad with a runway for planes. And fairly recently, Scorpios re-entered the news when it was learned that Jeffrey Epstein wanted to buy the island. There are a number of
There you go.
emails where he discusses his interest in buying Scorpios Island. Instead, the island was sold to Dmitry Rybolovlev, who was a Russian billionaire, and it was actually his daughter who bought Scorpios. She bought it in 2013.
Scorpio.
And Dmitry Rybolovlev is a really interesting guy. He's one of the richest people alive, and he was in the news a few years ago when he purchased Maison de la Mite in Palm Beach, Florida in 2008 from Donald Trump for $95 million.
What?
And
Wow.
when Trump later ran for president, this sale was one of the things that was held up
Money
as
laundering.
Russia having all this supposed influence over Trump. And another thing about Onassis is that he had some really interesting links to Nazi Germany. There's a lot of indications he was tied up with the Nazi Germans who went underground after World War II. J. Edgar Hoover ordered a report on Onassis once Onassis started making a lot of money, and the
really
FBI's
smart then.
report said Onassis was associating with people who were, quote, Nazi agents, and, quote,
Because they started NASA. They just changed the name a little bit. Instead of Nazis, they're the NASA. And then that's all I hear about when I hear about Nazis. It's the Nazi scientists. Okay. They're making anti-gravitical technology. And apparently they're living beyond the ice wall. They're not in Antarctica. They're beyond it. And they only let a few people in. But they were making stuff.
Quote, out-and-out Nazis. Hilmar Schatt was hired by Onassis to negotiate this wild deal that he was working on to ship all oil produced in Saudi Arabia on his tankers. Onassis also had a large whaling fleet that sailed the seas and murdered whales by the hundreds.
Whoa.
And the commander of his whaling fleet was Lars Anderson. And one of Onassis' closest associates was Fritz Mandel, who ran munitions plants that used slave labor during World War II. And all three of these men were either jailed or fined at the Nuremberg trials for their Nazi collaborations. And obviously, there was also the fact that Onassis.
I really hope that there's going to be a Satanist, thing where everyone is on trial and arrested and held, accountable for what they've done. These Satanists definitely need that.
Just immigrated to South America.
Like, I'm sickened by it. I'm absolutely sickened by it. And it's not just wartime ideology. But these people are, SRA, okay? They are abusing children in all sorts of ways, and even murdering them and eating them. Okay, they're eating, and not just babies. And it's not just them eating them. They then want to force that on us, and so it's been reported that 20% of the meat in the fast food meat patties, 20% of it is human remains of some kind of human remains. Okay.
which it's pretty well known that there were just a ton of Nazis who immigrated to South America, set up Colonio Dignidad, and did a whole bunch of business in South America. The Onassis bloodline was also named as one of the 13 Illuminati families by Fritz Springmeier in his
Nice.
book Bloodlines of the Illuminati. He lists the Onassis bloodline as one of the 13 most powerful families in the world, along with families like the Rockefellers, Astors, and Gettys.
Now this is that's a great looking book right there. The colors, the font, the lion, the text. If you're going to use multiple fonts, you have to do it in 3s.
Now, Fritz Springmeier claims that the Astor family imported drugs from Smyrna as far back as the 1800s, and as I mentioned, that's where Onassis' family was from. Fritz Springmeier also claimed that Onassis' father was set to be executed after he was captured, but some very powerful British friends of his intervened, and they were able to spare his life. But this Onassis bloodline that was so powerful was basically destroyed in a very short amount of time in the 1970s. Aristotle Onassis had a son and a daughter, and his son Alexander was the one who would have taken over the family empire, but he died in a plane crash at only 24 years old in 1973. And this is a really suspicious plane crash. It happened just 15 seconds after the plane took off, and the aileron cables in the plane had either been installed incorrectly or sabotaged, which caused the plane to crash. Aristotle Onassis was convinced the CIA or one of his enemies had sabotaged the plane and murdered his son, and interestingly, a year before this, Aristotle Onassis' private plane crashed into the sea and killed his personal pilots when he believed his plane had been sabotaged also.
Well, okay, this is what happens with every one of them. They have to sacrifice their firstborn or their loved one, or just some type of blood sacrifice. The thing that they worship requires blood in order to maintain communication with the host.
Alexander's mother and Aristotle Onassis' ex-wife Tina, she was the one that he met when she was 14 and he was 43. She died of a drug overdose that may have been murder in 1974 at only 45 years old. And in March of 1975, Aristotle Onassis himself died from this brutal rare disease named myasthenia gravis, where the muscles in your body gradually lose all strength. Here's a picture of him with his eyelids taped open because the muscles in his eyes had deteriorated so much that they wouldn't stay open on their own. So in the span of about 2 years, Onassis' son, his first wife, and Onassis himself all died.
What's up, Cookie?
And then his daughter Christina, who was his only living heir, she died in 1988 of a heart attack at only 37 years old. And her life was pretty much a train wreck. She married 4 times and battled a severe drug addiction for her whole life. Obviously, having a heart attack at 37 is pretty suspicious, although it was said that her drug problems contributed to it. And Christina had one daughter, Athena, who is still alive today. She's the one who sold Scorpios to the Russian investor. She's a competitive equestrian show jumper, but she rarely appears in public outside of that. She's the last remaining member of the Onassis bloodline, and she has no children herself, so the bloodline will probably end with her. She's been called the world's richest woman and the last Onassis. And next I wanted to get into the Gemstone File, which talks a lot about Aristotle Onassis. So the Gemstone File was a document written in the 1970s by a guy who claimed he was majorly connected to a group of rich, powerful people who basically ran the world. And he wrote this document, the Gemstone File, based on everything he'd learned from them. And he claimed that it tells the true story behind pretty much every major event of the mid-20th century. Watergate, the JFK assassination, Chappaquiddick, everything. So the Gemstone File claims that Aristotle Onassis was basically the most powerful man alive. He was the biggest drug trafficker on the planet, which made him just ridiculous money and gave him so much power that he became the worldwide head of the mafia. The Gemstone File also claims that in addition to drug trafficking, one of the main sources of Onassis's wealth and power was that he was secretly controlling the Howard Hughes empire. And this Howard Hughes story is just the greatest story. It is the ultimate mystery. Howard Hughes was the world's most successful inventor and world's biggest celebrity at the same time during the 1940s. He had this massive billion-dollar business empire, and he was a bigger womanizer than Aristotle Onassis. The list of famous actresses he dated is so long, it takes up 3 lines on his Wikipedia page. So he was just this huge party animal, billionaire, celebrity, businessman, inventor who was always in the news and always grabbing headlines. And then he vanished off the face of the earth in the mid-1950s, and he was never seen again in public for 2 decades. He just disappeared.
Jamie Foxx.
Between his last public appearance in the mid-1950s until he officially died in
Britney Spears.
1976, there were all these stories about how he'd gone insane and turned into this hermit who never left a hotel room and grew out his fingernails and would only eat chocolate bars. There's just a ton of bizarre stories about
Sounds like me.
And so there's always been this big question of, did he really just go crazy and go from the biggest celebrity alive to never appearing in public for 2?
Oh. What's happening here? Oh boy, I'm full screen and I don't know how to get out of it. It took over my other screen. Oh wait, I know how to do that. There we go. That happened one other time too. I was stuck in full screen, didn't know how to get out. All right, here we are.
2 decades? Or was there more to the story? Was he maybe dead the whole time? Something like that. And the Gemstone File claims that Aristotle Onassis had his men kidnap Howard Hughes in the mid-1950s, and then Onassis took over the Howard Hughes empire and made up this story about Hughes going crazy to explain away Hughes' disappearance.
That's what happened with Dave Chappelle too. He came back and talked to Oprah and said, "Yeah, they said that he basically dared me to say anything because they would just, or dare me to leave and say something because they would just think that I'm crazy." Someone needs to find Jamie Foxx. Because even the clone is starting to believe that he's him. No, he's playing cover. He's like, "Oh, it was just so weird that people are calling me a clone. I don't know why." Oh, really? You can't think of any reason, not the fact that the movie that you did right before you disappeared was called, they cloned Tyrone. The movie that you did when you came back was called The Burial. And when you want to get your teenage daughter's attention, you say, "Hey, it's me, your dad, Jamie Foxx. It's me, your father, Jamie Foxx." That's what he said that he told his daughter at one point. He used his name to address his own daughter. You wouldn't do that. So these doppelgangers, these agents that were trained, they go through this training to be a doppelganger, and wear a mask and they know the script and they got the voice modulator and there's very limited knowledge that they have of events and personal stories. So they keep everything broad. When they talk about one of the films that they did, they'll just talk about the other actress and how she was doing such a great job. But we'll never, and that's again something that anyone could say and analyze just by watching the movie. You don't have to watch the movie. You can just look at trailers and give the kind of detail that these doppelgangers do. And Jamie Foxx, his double is no exception. Okay, he went on recently to Variety or The Hollywood Reporter and said that he was lying in bed and he had his phone. He was going to see what people were saying about him. People were saying that he's a clone or he's gone. Not clone, but they're wondering what happened to him. And then all of a sudden, a white version of him walked in the door. And he knew that something was... I mean, what was the story? The story was just him making up stories, playing cover, trying to spin this whole clone story. You're a clone! He's a double. But here we are.
And there's some real interesting
Allegedly.
links between the two guys that really make you wonder if there might be something legit to all of this. There was this guy, Johnny Meyer, who was Howard Hughes' right-hand man in Hollywood during the 1940s. Him and Howard Hughes just partied together all the time, and Johnny Meyer was notorious for having this insane expense account because he was always wining and dining people with Howard Hughes. And very interestingly, Johnny Meyer stopped working for Hughes and he went to work for Aristotle Onassis around the time that, according to the Gemstone file, Onassis took over the Hughes empire. So again, this was Howard Hughes' right-hand man who suddenly went to work for Onassis, and he worked for Onassis for nearly 20 years. Now, the Gemstone file claims that when Onassis' men kidnapped Hughes, they beat him up severely and he suffered brain damage that was so bad he turned into pretty much a vegetable. And Onassis kept Hughes as essentially a prisoner on his island Scorpios. And he was kept alive because the Hughes empire would have been broken up if Howard Hughes had been declared dead. And if anyone ever demanded proof that Hughes was alive, they could have just rolled him out in his wheelchair to prove that he was indeed alive.
See, and now they don't need to do that any longer. They'll just kidnap an actor or pop star. They would have already had their, the mask for the doppelganger already made because they've already extracted blood samples from when they were at the Playboy party on Thursday nights, Pig Night, where they as they're having sex, in comes a bleeder, a woman dressed up in a nurse's outfit, scantily clad, I'm sure, with a big old needle, like a Kill Bill. The lady walking with the needle. They extract blood, and they're like, "Oh no, it's okay. It'll help." Because the guy's like, "Whoa, wait, ow, what the?" He was in the middle of like, like, "Whoa, hey!" I guess that's what they all do. They're like, "Whoa, hey, what are you doing? What are you sticking a needle in my ass for?" "Oh, it increases your orgasm. Carry on." He's like, "What? Okay. So they have his blood, and they can create little DNA sequencing and 3D print a face. Maybe even grow a clone in 2 years. They kidnap them, and then they have their doppelganger go back and act as them. And no one will mourn their death. No one will even know that they're gone, because last time with Howard Hughes, everyone's like, "Hey, where is he? Where is he? We need to see him." But now with this, you just kind of see people from a distance. They don't need to see the details. Why do you think Joe Biden was always wearing sunglasses? And it's perfect timing for the COVID mask. So you got a mask and sunglasses, to cover up the little details of his uncanny valley. So it's been reported that Joe Biden's dead. Okay. And Trump didn't even put his face on the presidential wall. He put the auto pen on there. So it shows maybe there's something to it. Maybe he was dead, and they just had Jim Carrey walking around in a Biden suit, and then they just auto penned it. All the policies, all the...
And very interestingly, there was in fact some sort of old brain that if anyone ever demanded Hughes as essentially a prisoner on his island Scorpios.
And Epstein had multiple islands. He was trying to buy Scorpio Island. There could be little prisons in there. I mean, there already are. I mean, they're entrapping all these underage girls to be incubators.
And he was kept alive
among
because
other
the
things.
Hughes empire would have been broken up if Howard Hughes had been declared dead. And if anyone ever demanded proof that Hughes was alive, they could have just rolled him out in his wheelchair to prove that he was indeed alive. And very interestingly, there was in fact some sort of old brain-damaged man in a wheelchair who lived on Aristotle Onassis' island. These photos were taken from a cruise ship that passed by Scorpios, and they show this old guy in a wheelchair with his head wrapped up in bandages.
These were taken from a cruise ship? That must have been a pretty powerful camera. Because I don't see that they would just be hanging out if there was a cruise ship that was close by. So that must have been a decent camera.
And that's Jackie Onassis right there next to him. And in another magazine article, a Greek nurse named Koala Markopoulos, who worked on Scorpios, she was interviewed and she talked about this old mangled man in a wheelchair with a severe head injury who stayed on Scorpios, and it was a big mystery to everyone who this person was. She said the wheelchair man was basically brain dead and mostly just stared off and didn't communicate. She said this man was tall and Howard Hughes was 6'3". The wheelchair man had one of the worst head injuries she'd...
That's Metzger size. 6'3". Ooh. Man. That's Kurt Metzger. Nephilim. He's 6'3", saying that he's 6'4". And you guys know I'm 4'3", speaking through the power of Logos. I'll be 4'5" one day.
Ever seen. The entire back of his head was a scarred mess. and she
Ooh.
was one of the 3 nurses who'd been hired to bathe, feed, and take care of this crippled old man. There's also this really fascinating connection to James Bond with Onassis, because the main bad guy in a lot of the Bond movies was Ernst Stavro Blofeld, and he has just a ton of similarities to Aristotle Onassis. So Blofeld is a Greek billionaire who made all his money in the oil business, and his mother was from a family of Greek ship owners. And Onassis was a Greek billionaire who made all his money shipping oil worldwide. Blofeld lives on a private island in the Mediterranean Sea named Meraki, and he has a high-tech yacht. And Onassis lived on Scorpios, which was a private island in the Mediterranean Sea, and he had the biggest yacht in the world. And Blofeld runs Spectre, which is an organization of assassins and money people who want to rule the world. And Gemstone claims that Onassis ran a similar worldwide mafia-like organization that also wanted to rule the world. And in particular, the movie Diamonds Are Forever has all these similarities to what Gemstone talks about with Onassis and Hughes. In Diamonds Are Forever, Blofeld has his men kidnap Willard White, who is a Texas billionaire who owns a casino in Las Vegas, and Blofeld keeps Willard White as a prisoner on his private island and then takes over the Willard White empire. And that is quite literally exactly what the Gemstone file claims Onassis did to Texas billionaire Howard Hughes, who also owned casinos in Las Vegas. What's also interesting is that the producer of Diamonds Are Forever and a bunch of the other early Bond movies was Albert Cubby Broccoli, and Cubby Broccoli was a close friend of Howard Hughes until he went missing, and so people have speculated that Cubby Broccoli knew what happened to Howard Hughes and he disclosed it in the movie. And Cubby Broccoli's story of how he came up with the plot for Diamonds Are Forever is definitely questionable. He claimed he had a dream where he visited Howard Hughes at his Las Vegas suite and an imposter was there instead, and inspired by this dream, he went to the film's
There you go. Imposter. Jamie Foxx is a double. That is not the real Jamie Foxx.
screenwriter and said, what would happen if someone kidnapped Howard Hughes and substituted an imposter for him? Since no one has seen the real Howard Hughes for years, no one would even know that he's gone. And the screenwriter replied,
Exactly.
It sounds like the perfect caper for Blofeld. And I'll end up the video here just by talking about a few random interesting things with Onassis. And the first is his rivalry with his brother-in-law Stavros Niarchos.
Stavros!
And this rivalry of theirs is regarded as one of the nastiest business and personal rivalries of all time. Stavros Niarchos was also a Greek shipping billionaire, and him and Aristotle Onassis just absolutely...
Look at that painting in the back. Just like feasting.
absolutely despised each other. They were always bad-mouthing each other in the press and trying to one-up each other. Stavros Niarchos bought one of the biggest yachts in the world. Then Onassis built his yacht that was even bigger. Stavros also lived on a private island in the Mediterranean Sea. Then Onassis bought Scorpios, which was an even bigger private island. And one of the reasons their rivalry was so intense...
It sounds like Clip Virgin and Kurt Metzger's rivalry. All right, anytime that, you know, when I started doing my Kendrick karaoke at the beginning, he started playing Kendrick on his social media. You know, I came out with the braid here, and he went on Rogan, put his hat on, had the tail hanging on the one side. Metzger wants to be me. Okay, he wants to be me, but he doesn't understand that I am him, and we are one, and you cannot separate us, Metzger. Okay, even though you don't answer my phone calls, I still know that you care.
This has to do with this deal Aristotle Onassis nearly pulled off. It was called the Jeddah Agreement, and this was the deal that would have given him the exclusive rights to ship all oil from Saudi Arabia worldwide. And this would have meant tens and...
I gotta get me some of these sunglasses. Those are... Or I might go full that.
ship all oil from Saudi Arabia worldwide. And this would have meant tens and probably hundreds of billions of dollars over the course of the deal. It was said that this Jeddah agreement would have made Onassis not just ridiculously rich, but more powerful than most nations. And when Stavros Niarchos found out about this deal that Onassis was working on, he did everything he could to sabotage the deal. He paid people to plant all these negative stories in the US press about Onassis. It was rumored that Stavros Niarchos was in very tight with the American CIA, and he used every contact he had to sabotage this deal. Eventually, a bunch of really powerful US oil companies started boycotting Onassis because this deal would have given him so much power, and the government of Saudi Arabia backed out of the deal. And Stavros Niarchos succeeded in basically screwing Onassis out of what would have been probably the most profitable business deal of all time. And the marriages of these guys were just really crazy too, and that was another reason they hated each other so much. So Aristotle Onassis' first wife, Tina, the one that he met when she was 14 and he was 43, she was from a very prominent Greek shipping family. Her father, Stavros Lavanos, was a billionaire. And Onassis' bitter rival, Stavros Niarchos, married into this same family. He married Tina's older sister, Eugenia. So even though they absolutely hated each other, they now became brothers-in-law. Then, after Onassis and Tina divorced, Stavros' ex-wife Eugenia died either of a drug overdose or she was murdered one night when she was alone with Stavros. There's a lot of mystery about her death.
Wow.
But after she died, Stavros married Onassis' ex-wife Tina, who had divorced Onassis and, as I mentioned, was the sister of Stavros Niarchos' first wife, who may have been murdered. And it was also later learned that Tina had been sleeping with Stavros while she was married to Onassis.
Oh my God.
So this whole rivalry between them was described as just a brutal hatred of each other. Probably one of
They just needed, yeah. They just needed to fucking get it over with. They clearly wanted to. That's like, Jimmy Kennedy's last guest, what's his name, Die or Fry or something like that, and his wife's name is Jamie. Look at it. He wants to be Jamie Kennedy so bad. He wants to be with him. Now, I don't want to be with Metzger, okay? I am Metzger. But this guy wants to get with Jamie. So he had to settle to get a wife named Jamie. Yeah, if you can sleep with countless women and never make a connection, it's because you're gay. Yep. And if you're doing like sleeping with all those women, that's, first of all, you're not, okay? You're just making it look like you are David Spade, and it's, just, it's all just smoke and mirrors for the real sexcapades.
Be there as excuses for a while until they're needed.
Oh.
the nastiest rivalries of all time between billionaires. And interestingly, before...
Oh, his name's Jay Dyer. Jay Dyer wants to be with Jamie.
he married Tina, Stavros Niarchos was also married to Henry Ford's daughter, so he was connected to some major money and power. And I'll also say that the Greek shipping industry as a whole is just wild. There is so much mystery and intrigue surrounding it. There are just a ton of ridiculously rich families and dynasties involved in Greek shipping. and there is so much mystery surrounding the industry. A lot of rumors that many of them are involved in shipping some very illegal stuff, drugs, and trafficking other things.
Oh, there you go.
So that's the quick rundown of Aristotle Onassis and just all the insane stuff he was involved in. It was just such a crazy life. And the craziest part is that he has some really interesting links to the assassinations of JFK and Robert Kennedy. So as I mentioned, I'm going to release a part 2 to this video where I just focus on Onassis and his rivalry with the Kennedy brothers. So be on the lookout for that. And also say real quick here that YouTube has this new hype feature, which I guess you can hype videos if you really enjoy them and it helps them to get pushed to a wider audience.
Yeah, hype it up. Don't do that to me. I'm not ready for a wider audience. Do not hype my stuff. You can hype his stuff. I'm still learning. I'm still in training. YouTube sent me out a couple times and I was not ready for that. So I gotta get my format tightened up in order to be comfortable being seen by a multitude. And we're not trying to go multitude. We like it nice and niche, folks. Okay, I want to respect the people that are here and not just flood the chat. Okay, you guys are creating community, and it'd be very upsetting if all of a sudden it's just filled with a bunch of people that don't have a clue what's going on. So I'm always thinking of you guys. I start thinking of myself once in a while. Once that 1,000 subscribers, ooh, Papa needs a new pair of shoes. But there you are. Control of history. Give it a like and subscribe. Check out that Gem Files documentary he's got. It's a nice 2-hour special, and highly recommend it. There's his channel.
Who probably gets my
We might have to save this one. What do you guys think? I think we could do it, right? I kind of let's save it. Let's save it. I like where this kind of tied in. This gets into a whole different feel, and I think this is a good point to wrap up the stream. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out during conspiracy night. We'll be doing a few more of these. Like to keep it a couple a week, and we got a lot in the pipeline. So I appreciate you sticking through the casting the large net on occasion, so that we can have some of these niche nights. A lot of fun. I actually don't think that it's very niche at all. I think this is very mainstream. But when you start saying that maybe Jackie Kennedy was a guy, woo! So that's the kind of stuff that I like. But I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. And we will do this again. Thank you. Thank you guys. You guys, it was great in the chat. Thank you so much. Sing it if you know it, folks. Sing it if you know it. Every time let's not make up lyrics for YouTube authorized music. You know, YouTube. This is a YouTube song, and I'm getting penalized for using it, and it's worth it. Because it's just a great little tune. It's one of those, it's not quite AI, but it's almost there. Yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah, no. And I found yourself in a corner. I'll do something like that. We got a great community here at Clip Virgin. Couldn't have done it without you. Appreciate it. We'll do it again.